in the space. But, I got back from Ukraine, got back from Lebanon, felt like it. And these fine individuals, I think, are pillars of the area. So I think that they are the perfect ones for this type of discussion. And the diversity of their views and how much they all love each other, they're all best friends, makes it. So I think it'll be an interesting discussion. We're going to start by going around and just starting with the question. Well, first introducing yourselves, of course, but starting with the question, should or should somebody not join DSA? So I'll start with, I think I'll start with Jordy.
Jordy, we can't hear you.
Jordy cannot hear me, or can I not hear Jordy?
We can't hear Jordy.
Well, you know what? Mistake on my part to throw it over to Jordy. So
Can't
first,
trust these
of course, I'll
socialists.
throw it over. That's true. I'll throw it over to Soy Pill first.
Yeah, I'm not in the DSA myself. I don't align with like 100% or even, I want to say, more than 70, 60% of the DSA platform. However, I see no good reason for you not to join the DSA. I think there are plenty of good reasons if you align more with them. They're great at organizing. They do a lot of good work. A bunch of people in my audience keep telling everyone else in my audience to go do it. So I assume, there's people who table and organize and canvas, and I think that's all fine and dandy. I think the only reason you shouldn't join is if you don't, like me, you don't really agree with all of them. But even then, I think there's been a lot of movements, particularly from you, Dylan, where DSA candidates who have dogshit positions on Ukraine, you come in and you influence them because, you are able to, flex those political muscles and you're organizing yourself. So I think that even if you are 80, 90% aligned and you think, wow, their Ukraine position's bad or their anti-NATO takes are bad, you should go in and try to influence them the same way Dylan does. But yeah, I don't think there's a good reason not to if you want to.
Next, we'll throw it over to Pisco.
Yeah, I mean, I have a pretty similar answer. In general, I'm not a member of the DSA because of ideological disagreements with the DSA. And so if you share kind of my views in general, I would say don't join the DSA. That said, if you think that there's some benefit that you can get either through organizing or producing good results in your community, or perhaps influencing the DSA from the inside to be more... there's a little bit of an echo feedback, just heads up. To be more representative
You're a little
of...
low too, by the way.
Okay. Be more representative of like values that I align with more, then I think that that's fine. That's going to be more contextual and case by case. I have a reason why I don't join the DSA, and it's for the top-down ideological reasons. I'm not a socialist, but if you think that you're going to be able to do good by joining the DSA, either in moderating some of their most outlandish positions or in good organizing, then I think that would be a convincing case for that individual.
Jordy, are you back with us? Unfortunate. He's left in the void. So I'll throw it over now to Wick, of course, the other panel host in the space. Though now I'm back, of course, I'm sure that the barricades are being put up and the drawbridges are being brought up.
It's a monopoly, Dylan, and it's just like a robber baron in the form of the Wick class.
We have to
sort
protect
of
our
dominating.
interests. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so really, honestly, the DSA wants to sell you the popular parts of its agenda and smuggle in the rest. But like actually joining the DSA, it's a package deal. You don't get to, because you pay dues. You have to pay to be a member, right? And you don't get to like earmark your funds. You don't get to fund some of the healthcare plank while withholding your membership from the anti-capitalism, police abolition, NATO withdrawal, or institutional radical restructuring planks. You can't do that. Joining means strengthening all of the planks, the organization as a whole. Whatever policies the DSA supports that are good, we can just support them just as well, if not better, as liberal Democrats. And I guess a question for all of you, right? Like, because your answer seems to be why not here, but I'll just ask this. What political goal or policy requires me to join the DSA that I couldn't just accomplish as a liberal Democrat?
Okay, I'm going to throw it over at Jordy one more time. You having any success? The void. Well, I'll throw something out there, though, and I do hope that Jordy can get everything under control. I understand he doesn't live in the state of Maryland, and things like civilization and technology might be difficult for him, and so this will take some time. But I want to throw something out there before we open about why I think this panel is interesting. Number one, DSA obviously has upward momentum. and it's going to have a political impact on the next congressional session because they're in office. And so just talking about how you engage with what will now have voting power in Congress is interesting. And number two, I have a meeting this Sunday with my local DSA chapter representative, and I'm going to be making some decisions about whether or not I am going to be joining DSA, because I want to have the most political effect I possibly can on the issues that I care about. And when I think about the next House session and a united Democratic caucus on the issue of something like Ukraine and stopping Russian attempts of starving the Ukrainian population, or things that I care about, maybe I would want to be inside. So I'm just going to throw that out there that, is this something that is politically efficacious to be within a movement with steep critiques of it, the steep critiques being on things like Ukraine or other issues on the agenda? Can you join it and be politically efficacious, or are you just harming the things you care about? That's my opening question, I guess.
I guess to answer that question, that gives, oh, he's gone, so he can't hear my answers. Oh well, whatever. It's like it's got I can fix her energy. You're going on a date with a woman, and all the red flags are coming up, right? She's wearing a MAGA hat, right? She starts talking about how, those funny people with funny hats are in control of our government. She starts talking about how she's mean to the waiter, okay? She orders some of the most expensive stuff on the menu right off and says, "You're going to pay for it, right?" Like all these red flags, and you sit there and you're like, well, I can fix her. You could join the DSA and spend years trying to liberalize it. You could. That's possible. But why do that? Why waste all your energy when you can simply build more liberal organizations?
Maybe
Like,
because
why
building
would we
organizations
want to
isn't the most
liberalize
simple
something
thing.
when we could spend our finite resources, energy, time, money, etc., on just building more liberal organizations?
Maybe because building an organization is hard. And I assume that when people have proposed such things before, like a liberal version of the DSA, that part of the calculus for some aspiring, DSA moderation, I can fix them type person, is that institution and that structure doesn't currently exist to the same extent that the DSA does. And so,
hold on,
like,
what can the DSA accomplish that I can't accomplish as a liberal
collective
Democrat right now?
action,
With an
potentially.
organization that already exists,
Assuming,
game.
Assuming the existence of such an organization, then yeah, you could do all that with a liberal, democratic and liberal organization.
Which exists, the Democratic Party.
Okay, so now talk to me about that. So the Democratic Party is a thing.
No,
what is
I
it?
want an answer to my question. What must I join? What requires me to join the DSA that I can't just do in
You
the
say
Democratic
strictly
Party?
necessary? When you say required, you mean strictly necessary?
What is unique
I
about
say
the
there's
DSA
no
that
strict
requires my
necessity.
membership?
That's absurd, Wick. I'm not saying, no one is saying
Why is that
it's
absurd?
strictly.
The whole
I will
question is,
explain
should
why
you
it's
join the
absurd.
DSA?
Wick, I will explain why it's absurd. You're asking, why is it
go ahead.
strictly necessary for me to join this organization? Have you heard, I'll just ask this yes or no, anybody so far say that it's strictly necessary to join the DSA? Have you heard that?
I have not heard that.
So that's a straw man, isn't it, Wick? It's a straw man?
Hold on.
That's a straw man?
It's not a straw man. I asked you a question. What is strictly
There is no
necessary?
strict
In order to
necessity.
accomplish it,
No
what-
one's
what-
argued that. That's why it's
wait,
a straw man.
One moment, a little kindness to the old retiree debate host. I'd like to hear what Wick's follow up is. I didn't get to hear it.
Okay, we
Oh,
good?
there we go.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, can we hear Jordy now?
We
To
can
answer
hear
your
Jordy.
question,
So let's have Wick's follow up, and then we'll have Jordy do
Yeah.
his intro. I hate to interrupt it, but we got to bring him in here.
You're fine. Just again
Yeah, sorry about
to
that.
reiterate my question, and I think it's an important question, is if the question of tonight, which it is why should you join should I join the DSA? I think it's perfectly fair to ask what political policy or political goal would make it necessary
strictly
to
necessary?
join the DSA. that I
Strictly
couldn't just
necessary?
do in a
Strictly
liberal
necessary?
organization which
Are you
already
asking
exists, the
strictly
Democratic
necessary?
Party.
Are you asking strictly necessary?
Yes.
Okay, no one has argued that it's strictly necessary to join
No
the
one's argued
DSA.
anything. We just started. I
No,
asked the
then
question.
why are you? So I said so. No, it's not strictly necessary to join the
Pisco,
DSA.
what he's saying is, what can the DSA accomplish that the Democrats can? That's all
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
trying to say.
so-
And the answer to that is DSA policy is going to differentiate or be further left than anything that you might get in the strict, or the specific Democratic.
you give me an example?
No, because
Yeah,
you're going to say something. Wait. This is what his game is. He's going to say, why can't I argue?
Before we go into specific policy examples, Sorry, there's three of you. God, it's a good old panel. I want to make sure that Jordy has some sort of intro. Sorry about that. The original question was, should I join DSA? And I gave a little blurb about I'm having a meeting with a DSA representative this weekend, and
Right.
what type of mind space should somebody go when approaching that question?
Right. So, like, hello, I'm Jordy. I am a dues-paying member of DSA now, especially because of the conversation that I have with Dylan with some of his criticisms of the International Committee, and I thought that it was actually a really, really good position to have, and a really good position to push within the DSA, among other things. I am a member of the DSA. I'm not a big fan of the national DSA, and I'm not a big fan of. I'm not even sure why we would need a national DSA, to be honest with you. But I do think that the DSA brings up opportunities for really powerful grassroots organizing and grassroots level democratic engagement. And so I think that it is an important vector of democratic influence to foster. And it energizes people. People seem to be pretty excited about a politics that looks like you're fighting for something. And I think that those are all the healthy elements of DSA that I think should be fostered, while some of the more toxic elements like campus and tankies and shit like that should be pushed against. But I think it's worth it to push on that from the inside. And I was under the impression that this is a conversation largely about whether or not Dylan whether or not Dylan should be joining the DSA, not necessarily whether or not Wick should. I don't know if Wick should, but.
I think it's better, of course, for the audience at home for it to be, if anybody should join DSA.
I think most people should, if you actually want to push back against the Trump administration and stuff like that. Yeah.
Hold on, Mike.
But obviously, I think
no one's saying must. This is the shell game, right?
I just wanted to follow up. I just wanted to make sure, Jordy, since he just got in here, what do you think about the idea that somebody could just make an organization outside of DSA? Say, I don't need to accept any bad position on Ukraine or all these other things. I can just join already existing organizations, or join or make them myself. In fact, make your own.
Yeah, I mean, fuck it. Yeah, if it's effective, if people are being mobilized under it, if it
Sure.
Why the fuck not, right? But DSA has a bunch of infrastructure that can be used, and a bunch of people that are already
I
doing
want to address the shell game.
Hallelujah.
Let's
solved
not
the problem.
So
Democratic Party
Dylan,
does
please.
all of that.
What Wick is doing is trying to what Wick is trying to doing is derail this conversation.
It opposes the Trump administration. It brings us more healthcare. The Democratic Party implemented the Affordable Care Act, which extended
monologue. Yes, we all agree. No one's arguing against the Affordable Care Act. No one's arguing against his policies. That's not what this debate's about. But no, Dylan, please. I want to address this. I want to address the shell game.
It's not a conversation where we're going to have a lot of hands-off moderation. I have to be very aggressive here. I think because there's people who both disagree and do not like each other.
I like Wick. He's just derailing.
This is the follow-up. This is the obvious follow-up, I think, from everybody here would be, yes, Democrats do things, but also Democrats are very, very historically unpopular at the moment, and they've also led to the situation we find ourselves in today. Like, they were the main opposition. Trump got elected when they were the ones putting forward candidates that represented like the general, like both party establishment, both in Hillary Clinton, in Joe Biden, and in Harris. These were not people that came from like DSA's wing of the party. So somebody could say, we need something different than what we've had at the Democratic Party up to this point before. Maybe it's not DSA. Maybe it's, hey, we just had the PV, where the PV people donate $20. Maybe it's an organization like PV. Maybe it's other orgs. But is the Democratic Party sufficient as an entity to do everything that an activist might want to do?
Right. To address that, we need to dispense with the shell game that Wick is presenting, where he's asking questions like, must we join the DSA? Is it necessary for us to join the DSA? That's not the question before you, to see like whether it's possible to have the same sort of grassroots organization or whatever the benefit is that people who are part of the DSA are citing as something that is useful. The question isn't, is it necessary? Must someone join the DSA? The question is clearly, for some people, would it be useful to join the DSA? And then you can't have this.
I think for the Democratic Party, it's also useful. It's also useful for the Democratic Party. There's a bunch of people that are feeling alienated from the Democratic Party, be it for reasons that you think are justified or not justified. But you have a ton of people that feel like they're not being listened to, and you need to be able to move that energy quickly.
But what I'm saying is address
hold on,
that.
but
Don't do the
just
shell
address
game that
Jordy.
Wick is doing.
Okay.
Wick is doing the must you. Is it necessary? That's all
No,
bullshit straw man.
think the reason I'm asking is it necessary is because everything that you would want to accomplish under the DSA by reaching out to people who don't feel heard, by organizing people quickly to oppose Trump,
Could be
you can do
accomplished,
that-
and then could.
This is my
could,
argument.
Could.
You can
could.
do that
Yes. Could.
easier.
Yes, it's possible.
And better.
Yes, it's
under
possible.
the Democratic Party.
Well, why do you
rather
say
than-
easier
if I
and
may
better?
finish,
Like,
please,
what if
please,
these
please let me
policies
finish the point.
differentiate
Please let me
on
finish.
substantial levels?
Please, oh my God.
Okay,
let me
well, we'll
finish.
have Wick finish his point, then we'll go Pisco and then Soy Pill in that order.
Okay, you can do that easier and better on the Democratic Party because the DSA has a lot of baggage that joining it's taking on this baggage you don't need, such as, and I'll be clear, police abolition, right? When they talk about withdrawing from NATO, and it's not just withdrawing from NATO. They want to close every single overseas military base. They want to cede global power on the world stage and just withdraw from all these areas, right? They want
Does the Democratic Party not have baggage for people that would be more so
Far less
in line with
baggage.
DSA?
Far
Like
less
you can see
baggage.
that we can
Have
see
to
this with
compare
polling
these.
right now with the people that are more so in line with DSA. Like, and you can say whatever you want about that. You can say whether or not you think it's justified. But if it is the case, like, do you not want to mobilize those people in a direction that they would be more likely to head?
If they are more in line with the DSA than the Democratic Party, no, I don't, because I don't want people to go in the direction of abolishing NATO. I don't want people to go.
Oh, so this has nothing to do with like being electorally effective.
Go in the direction of making the executive and the courts subservient to.
Why all these? Why all
Congress.
these
I
like
don't want
show
those.
and dance about like, oh, you could do the same thing. Clearly, you think the DSA is bad, and no one should join it. It has nothing to do with whether or not they could do the same thing.
Yeah,
with
it's
the
a shell
Democratic
game.
Party,
It's like
right?
I said. Yeah, this whole thing, right? It's a shell game.
No, the whole point-
And you're
But it's also
your
on a
point
basis of
is-
like all of these
Well,
things that
let's-
Wick is
let's
saying is
have-
going to
let's have
happen are
Pisco
like
go. He's
not things that are going to happen, and he knows that.
Sorry, I do want Pisco to go. He's
Yeah.
supposed to be next.
So this is the point, right? Like Wick is doing this
Can
whole
you turn
thing.
yourself up? It's really hard to hear you.
Okay, I'm right here. I'm right next to it. Wick is doing this whole.
Sorry. It's
Wick
just-
Wick is doing this whole thing where he's like, "Well, is it possible for this to be happening on somewhere else?" And he goes, "It'll be easier and more effective to do it on the Democratic Party." But it defeats itself. If it's so easy and if it would be so much more effective, why hasn't it happened yet? That's the thing that you haven't answered. And maybe there's some utility. Again, I don't join the DSA. I think that there's big ideological, barriers between me and joining the DSA. But to act as though to capture the animating spirit of the DSA, which has sort of captured the interest of young people, is so easy, so effective. It would be so obvious to do. Why hasn't it happened yet?
For a lot of reasons. One, just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it can't happen in the future, nor would it be easier.
It's possible. Yes, it
DSA
is
hasn't
possible.
exactly-
Yes,
hold
it's
on, just real
possible.
quick. You
Yeah,
gotta let
you
me
were
answer the
presenting it
question.
as an
The
alternative.
DSA
like, it
hasn't
doesn't exist
exactly
yet.
captured the hearts of voters around the world. If we look at actual election results, and let's talk
I
about
clearly
opposing
said young
MAGA for a
people. I clearly said
losing
young
to
people.
Trump?
All you
On
have
the
is straw
national
man. I
level.
clearly said young people.
Losing to an insurrectionist pedophile.
One person, wait, one person at a time. I'd like to hear Wick finish his statement about election results.
Sure. If we want to oppose MAGA, which DSA candidate has beaten MAGA on the national stage?
Who has said they have? Who said they had? All you can do is
Jordy's
argue against.
argument is
all
that
you
the DSA can better oppose MAGA.
No. You
My
just.
argument
you
is
just.
that the Democrats have not captured the young population.
But you have to show that DSA
Like you
can do it
lost a second time to an
better. Show us
insurrectionist pedophile.
that the DSA can do it better.
You're,
Because
People
you're,
do
that's
not
what
feel
you're
good about
asking.
the
You're
Democratic Party.
asking
It's not
is,
about whether or
instead
not
of
one
the
side is able to do.
Democrats
The
improving
thing is
them,
that
come to the
the thing is
DSA.
that
So
you
show
can
me
have
evidence you can
Democrats
do it
and
better.
you can have
Name
DSA
one-
running
Name one
in places
race
that they can win.
which MAGA
Like this is
has
not an either
been
or
defeated by
situation.
the
Like
straw
you want it to
man.
be.
national
Yeah.
stage.
All you have is a
Name
straw
one.
man.
This
Wait.
is- yeah,
Wait.
this
All
is
you
not
have
an
is
either
no
or
one has
situation.
argued.
Name
No
one.
one has
Two
argued. So all he's
people
doing right
talking
now
at
is
the same time.
he's doing the
arguing
virtue
it right
signaling.
now,
So
brother.
all he's doing is
No.
repeating the question. No one has said. Have you heard anyone on this panel, Wick, say that the DSA has defeated a MAGA candidate in the conditions that you've prescribed? You've asked that question, and you
but
know
they
that's not a
have
position
said,
that we've
and
held.
why I'm pointing this out is they have said that the Democrats have failed, thus implying that the DSA could do it better.
So
I'm
why don't you
asking
hear
for
Jordy
evidence
out?
of that.
Hear his case.
That's not what I'm
Okay.
saying.
That is not
It
implied
sounds
by
like it's not his
saying that,
position.
I think.
It sounds like all you have is a
He's
straw
won
man.
victory on the national stage.
Well,
no,
actually,
it's
let me
not an
answer the
either or
question. This is a
situation.
follow-up
Listen,
to this
listen. It's not an either.
conversation.
It's
I had
not
it on
an
my list.
either or
Victor,
situation. You
can't
win
do
where you
that.
can win.
I just want to make
You
that
win
clear
where you
to
can
the
win.
audience.
It's not
You
an
can't
either
do
or
that.
I want to
situation
be
because
clear for the audience.
that's
I
what we're
I'm
seeing
not
today.
sure. I don't
What
want
we're
to start
seeing
muting.
today is we're
I don't
seeing
want to start
Democrats
muting.
that
If
can
everyone
win,
mute
that are
first,
winning,
I'm
and people
angry.
that are with
Don't want
DSA
to.
that
Come
are winning.
on. I
You
don't
want
want
to be able to
to. I
mobilize
want
both.
you all to be my friends.
Dylan, we
I
can
want you
barely
all
hear
to be
you.
my
I love
So
you.
if you wanna mute people, you gotta do it. Like we're gonna all talk
That's a
over you.
good
You're really
point.
quiet.
And so I think. Sorry, I just wanted to. Okay, but I want to ask specifically about DSA's odds against Trump and DSA's odds against, because when we have a candidate win in Florida, that shows that there are seats that might not be winnable or are going to be very difficult seats to win. And people who are either DSA aligned or DSA members, if they win those, those could be competitive elections where DSA candidates are going, even though Florida's not supposed to be competitive. At one point, we talked about it as competitive. And there's a possibility that now that AOC has rejoined DSA, we could have a DSA nominee for president in 2028. Do you guys think that DSA has enough problems today that if it wasn't to go through substantial reform, that a DSA presidential nominee or a tight DSA race in somewhere like Florida or North Carolina or Ohio could do significant damage?
We have data on this. We can show that we see what's happening right now, where Fox News is happily, gleefully, giddily inviting DSA representatives on in order to give their spiel and to be heard out, and they're hanging them around the necks of the Democrats and
And
saying
you're
this is the
reposting
future
it.
of the Democratic
You're
Party.
reposting it,
They're
but
doing
has
that for a
it
reason.
had
My
the
You're
effect?
boosting,
predictions
you're
of
Wait,
Fox
wait,
News-
wait. What's the effect it's had?
Before we
Has it had an
talk about
effect?
boosting?
Has it had an effect?
I think that it is going to have an effect. Yes, that's my intuition.
And okay, that's your intuition, great. And if it
is
doesn't,
my
are you
intuition.
gonna come back here and apologize? Because here, I mean, you're still a Biden
No,
dead
yeah,
ender.
I'll give
You still
right.
think
If the
Biden would have
DSA
won in
starts beating
2024?
MAGA more than the moderates, I will apologize to you.
Oh, that's wait, no. That's not the point that you just raised. Don't try to be sneaky. What you said
It is
it's an
the
albatross bringing these
because
DSA.
this
No,
is
hang on. Let me respond.
defined as a
The very
consumption.
sneaky with what you just did. That wasn't the point that I was responding to. You said bringing on these DSA people on Fox News is having these deleterious effects on even moderate candidates. I'm like, what's the proof of that? You're like, I guess it's just my intuition.
No, that's not what I said. I didn't say they were having a deleterious
So then what?
effect
So
on
then what's the problem?
I said they were having a deleterious effect on the brand.
On the brand, and what's the evidence of that?
Which includes moderate candidates,
Sorry,
right?
how's that
I
not?
suppose, but it's more general than just the moderates, right?
You don't have shit, Wick, right? You don't have any evidence for your
What do you
claims.
mean I don't have shit?
You don't have anything. You're like,
Again, we have
you're
data.
reposting Fox
If
News
data
You're
stuff.
literally
showing
gesturing to Fox
historically-
News. What if Fox News says something mean?
Yeah.
What if Fox News has
It's
said
literally
something
like the
mean?
timid fear of Fox News
They're
saying
not
something
saying
like
something
they
mean.
do every day.
They're being very nice to the DSA. You know why they're being very nice to the
Ooh,
DSA?
sweeping.
They're being nice
How
to the
they're being
DSA.
nice to the DSA.
Wait, Wick. I mean, like, you
When
know
they
you're full
bring
of
on
shit.
a
They're being
DSA
nice to the
candidate,
DSA.
They generally just ask them general questions and let them talk. They don't interrupt. Have
Oh,
noticed?
you mean in the particular interviews, but they're not being nice to the DSA in their coverage, correct? That was a ridiculous thing you just said, right, Wick? You just said something insanely
Because
ridiculous.
You misunderstood what I just said.
Oh, okay. So you're just
yes,
saying they just have them
this straw
talk.
man that you've connected.
You're bionicle,
Yes, that was
yes.
ridiculous. But what I actually said, right? What I actually said was pretty reasonable and backed up by evidence.
By science,
that we
yeah.
can see
They
that when
interview
they
these
bring
crazy
on
people,
these
yes.
various individual DSA representatives, co-chairs to be interviewed, they're almost subservient, letting them get out all their points, letting them just talk at length to explain. Sometimes they'll ask very basic questions, but they're
Why do they wanna
pretty
do this?
happy just letting them go on. Why
Why do they
you
want to
think
do
that
this?
is?
Why does Fox News want to do this? Why is this
Why
in
do
Fox
you-
News' interest?
Why do you think Fox News would do this? What's
Yeah,
some of
what
the
do you ask you?
options that you think might
to,
be
to
true?
scare the American voter, to make them think that that these
What would
people
they
are
put- what
insane.
would
So
they be
anyone who's
scaring them?
associated with them is insane because it would hurt the chances of Democrats winning.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, and then you repost it, right? So
To
You actually
showcase
like that
this is
Fox
what
News
they're
does
to
doing.
this.
hurt the chances of the
Yeah.
Democrats winning, right?
You
Do
actually
you think
want
that
this
my
to occur.
repost of something saying, "Hey, this is what Fox News is doing. You should be aware that it's happening." Do you think that that's helping or hurting the Democratic Party?
I mean, I don't think you're having much of an effect at all, if you ask me, actually. But like, to be
Well,
honest,
that's.
but I
mean,
think
look,
that your intention
I am a,
is
like what
you're-
15K sub channel, so true.
No, I mean, I don't
But
think
you
that.
know what I mean. Like,
my
do you
intuition
think it's
is
helpful to point out that the Republicans are doing this?
Yeah, I'm not sure
After
that
you've
what's
done
the
it
help.
once, but every single day and reposting like Republican clips of Abdul Al Sayed saying things like, doesn't this make him look bad, guys, every single day? Is that
does.
really
It
uniting
makes him
behind
look
the Democratic
terrible.
Party?
He needs to get
He needs
better
to what?
comms, okay?
I mean, listen, it's making
It sounds like you're
people look
concern trolling,
terrible.
though.
Like
Like,
the
do you
worst
actually care
people
about
that you're never
supporting him?
actually
Like, don't
gonna
you think you
talk to.
should like donate
I
money and like try to
endorse
boost him
El
up?
Sayed. You should
Maybe you
vote
shouldn't.
for El Sayed. But at
Okay.
the end
When's
of
the
day, I
last
have a
positive thing
limited
you said
amount of
about El
time and
Sayed?
resources.
Yeah, what's
And
the
if I'm
last
going to
positive
give my
thing you said
time
about
and
him?
resources to a campaign, it's going to be a campaign that I think has a good chance of winning, such as Tallarico in Texas, such as Ohio, such as Iowa, right? These are
Michigan
races
is
that are
a
very
blue
close
state
that
typically,
would
and if
be
they're worried about
flipped that I
flipping
think
it,
we
don't
just have
you
a better
want
chance of winning.
to?
Wait, you would rather
You-
get behind politicians that you think are going to win instead of actually do the work to make sure that somebody can win?
Because
Like you'd rather get behind someone that you think is
effectiveness
a
of
winner
my
than actually do
dollar
the work
matters
to
in a
actually help
limited
someone else win.
system. If you could spend $1 and have the effect of $10 or spend $1 and have an effect of 50 cents, which would you spend your money?
Yeah, but you're
Where?
spending time critiquing the nominee, and so in some sense, you've already
So in-
you've thought about this
So
enough
so
to
he can
invest
get
time in the
better.
critique.
It's a warning.
Oh, I
It's
see.
a warning saying
So
this needs to stop.
Would you say the same
If
thing
you
about
keep
Hassan
doing
Piker in
this, it
2024
will hurt
criticizing
your
Kamala
chances.
Harris on Gaza up
no,
until the
because
election?
no,
Would you
Soypal,
say the
you
same thing?
fucking idiot, because they called him a genocide supporter, and that's just so horrible. That is just horrible, and that when you do that, that's not helping the nominee. That is not recommendation, of course, because they don't agree with Wick, and if it's only
But I didn't think
criticism
my
from the
debate
Wick
today was
perspective,
about
that
my
is
research.
constructive. What's
And
that?
I find it very interesting that you guys have pivoted away from my very simple question: is why must I join the DSA? To
No one's
accomplish
saying
this
you
goal?
must.
What
No one
Who's
wants to
saying
join
you
the
must?
DSA, dude. What the-
Who said you must? All you have is straw men.
Because this
No
is a
one said that you
comparison,
must.
You
I have
definitely should.
noted all the baggage that I have with the DSA, how they want to withdraw from NATO, they want to abolish
that,
the
yes.
police, they want to
Fuck
abolish
that.
prisons.
Fuck
and I'm
that.
going to quote here: this isn't just
Do you think that if
abolish
if
prisons in a
DSA
kind of,
candidates win, that they're going to be
colloquial
abolishing
sense.
the police and
They want
abolishing
to,
the
and I
Can you
police
hear
quote,
the
detention?
last
Right?
thing he
For
said
real?
about
I want to
about
quote,
abolishing prisons?
free
Then
all
we'll
people.
I want to ask some follow-up questions to this so we can get everybody's responses.
Sure, but I want to finish a quote here. This is from their 2021 Democratic Socialists of America platform. They want to, and I'm going to
This
quote
is what
here,
he's afraid of
free
actually
all
happening.
people from involuntary confinement.
Who said that? The DSA?
The DSA was their
Yeah,
national
fuck
platform.
that. They're idiots. Yeah, I don't know. What do you want to say?
Exactly.
What's
So
the response to
if
that?
I can accomplish a policy goal without aligning myself with idiots,
No, but
I'm going to.
you're only doing one part of the
Duh,
equation.
that's the argument.
So
Wick,
understand.
I consider you part of the coalition, and I don't think that is ever going to stop me. Like, I align with idiots all the time, so what's the problem?
I like that. That's
but understand, right? Like, no one is saying is the proposition isn't is the DSA free from criticism? Is the DSA have good policy ideas? My answer to that would be like sometimes yes, sometimes no. Critically, sometimes no. That's not the question. The question is, could there be some utility and usefulness in someone joining the DSA? Now, I wouldn't join the DSA because of my ideological disagreements. But if you have someone like Dylan who's going to push for good policy on Ukraine, good policy on international relations, would you say don't do that if you thought that he would be able to have an effect? Now, you might say, well, wouldn't his efforts best?
I would say don't
Okay.
do that.
Why?
And I'll
Don't
tell you
do it?
why. Because he could have a better effect by joining other liberal organizations
Like
that
what?
either A,
Like what?
already exist, such as, and I want to give you one, the Liberal Action Network, which
You
should
just
join.
made that
You're a liberal
as
and you
a-
want to do actual good work.
Wick, that's
You're a
like an
Liberal Action
online,
Network.
like,
That's
You
tweet
just made that.
coalition thing.
Snarking
That's not
Discord.
anywhere
You're snarking
close.
Discord. It's better than the DSA.
Dude, that's not
No,
even
shit.
comparable.
What's the alternative to the DSA organizing?
DSA
That's what he's
does
asking
active
for.
farms
Let's
to America. Yeah.
grab onto that for a moment, right?
Go ahead.
So I'll actually use a previous conversation. Me and Jordy had a conversation on tomfooleries about whether or not I should join DSA. That actually did lead to me booking this meeting with the local DSA chapter representative
So it
because
didn't
I
go
thought it
so
was,
well with the anti-DSA side, I guess.
what was that? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
It must not have gone that well for the anti-DSA side if you booked a meeting with
I got
the DSA, right?
wrecked and destroyed in the free marketplace of ideas. But I was either way. I was interested in having a conversation just to see how a local DSA chapter would receive somebody who is so unambiguously critical of like Megan Romer, the DSA co-chair, the international committee, and on an issue like this, saying if I'm in, I'm going to push hard on this. And in the conversation we had, some of these issues, I feel like it's in some way it's worse now than what it was in 2022. because the last conversation we had, it was, well, this was their positions in 2022. This was their positions on some press releases. But since our conversation, Megan Romer gave an interview with the Atlantic. I believe it was the Atlantic or it was the Wall Street Journal. And in that interview, she expressed that the position of the DSA as DSA co-chair is still not to give any supplies, any assistance to the Ukrainians. And on top of not giving that assistance to the Ukrainians, that the main reason we haven't found peace is because we haven't really tried diplomacy and we need to send more diplomats. Now, when I listened to this position, I knew DSA's position was bad. Now it's worse than Trump's. It's worse than Trump's because at least Trump's, after 2 years, are like, oh, what do you mean? The Russians are hard to work with. Who could have thunk it? It's ridiculous. Everybody could have told them. But DSA's position is post that still saying, oh, well, certainly if
More
we just
diplomats.
go shake their hand the correct
It is
way.
a worse position. I
And so
agree.
at that point, when they have the worst position on the largest war on the planet while keeping an anti-war platform, it makes it very difficult for me to stomach giving part of my pocketbook to an organization like that, even if I feel that it's politically efficacious.
Well, okay. Would you say the exact same arguments for all these like DSA people who won't join the Democratic Party because of their position on Israel, because of their position on corporate donations, like any of these things that they're like, litmus test wise, this is unacceptable. I don't care how much work I can do. I will never join the Democratic Party because of this level of purity testing. Or would you say, hey, those things are bad if you think they're bad and you can change those yourself, but it is completely useless to like cross your arm and say, no, I'm not going to do anything because I don't agree with 100% of their positions, especially not their worst ones. Like that seems like a zero.
Well, hold on. Soy Pill, surely you would agree that there could be an organization such as DSA that would have positions as such that no matter how good their other positions are, you would never join that organization.
Bring up
because these
racism,
positions
yes.
are so
Okay,
bad.
not do the crazy
Yes.
hypotheticals, yes.
It's possible, but I don't believe the DSA is that for me. Like as
So-
much as I don't like their worst.
So if they
positions, I
were
don't think they're
Hitler,
anywhere
There-
close
I
you
to
wouldn't
wanna-
join
I
the
wanna go
Hitler
through
party?
this with you.
that I yeah, like it's like what if Nick Fuentes is great
But
for
I
a
want to
fucking
go
org,
through,
you
like
know?
Dylan just mentioned how their position is actually worse than MAGA's, right? Their position on
I'm aware they're Ukraine.
Yeah, we
wars-
agree on
wars
that.
dog,
Yeah,
so that's
yeah.
one.
You're like, oh,
There's
he just
another
did
one.
that. Yes,
Again,
agreed. Yeah.
Right. Again, when we talk when we talk about police abolition, do you want Trump to be held accountable for his actions? Perhaps
Absolutely,
those
yeah.
who helped him in prison.
How are you going to do that if
DSA
there's no
doesn't
prison?
want-
How if there's no prison?
They
Why are
want
you
to
arguing us
free
on
all
the
people
issues?
with
Hey,
voluntary
Wick, we're not
confinement.
arguing on the
That's
issues.
their thing.
Hey, Wick, we're not arguing on the issues. Did you confuse
this
us?
is so like
Hold on, we are arguing on the issues.
No, we're
The issues
fucking
matter.
not.
Your
No,
policy
we're
positions
not.
matter. These are the policy decisions of the DSA, and you can
Wick, what-
pretend that they don't
Wick, what do you-
exist. But when you join this organization, you are
Okay, if you were to ask,
co-signing
if you were
these
to pick a
positions.
random fucking DSA person, you were to ask them like what their position is on what we should be doing with prisons today, you think that they would say we need to let all of the rapists free to go rape as many people as they want to?
It's funny because when they asked Chevrolet,
You think that that's what they would
question,
say?
She couldn't
Wow,
answer
you
it.
just dodged the.
No, she did
No.
answer.
There.
She did
She
answer.
knows how bad
no,
it
you're
sounds
lying.
to give that answer, so she just didn't answer. She
Do
refused.
you think that's a
Everyone,
real position?
everybody
Wick,
knows how
Wick, that's
bad.
not
Everyone
what they-
knows how bad just
Oh,
prison
God.
abolitionism sounds. But if you actually listen to what she said, she did not avoid it.
She
Yeah.
asked
She
the question. She
avoided
was
the
asking
framing of actually
directly,
letting people out of the
what do
prisons
you
to go
do
rape
with a
as much as they
murderer
fucking
or a
want to.
rapist? She could not answer.
But like, do you actually
No.
believe that like people in the DSA, like pick a random person from DSA, that they would say that we need to do is we need to open the gates and let
Let
everyone
rapists
just
rape, let murderers
They
murder.
would
Is that-
say
do you
this
think
is
that's
their
Yeah,
goal
really, like, you
because
really
they
legitimately
did
think
say
that.
this is their goal. This is in
no,
their
they did
policy
not. You
platform,
fucking
sir.
retard. No, they did not.
Wick,
Okay, I will
I'm not.
grant you,
Look, I'm not.
or
Wait,
I
wait,
will
wait, wait, wait.
show
I'm
Dylan
not
with
prison
screenshots.
abolitionist. I'm not police abolitionist. But please, like, be serious. These people don't literally think I just want people to go out and rape. Like, that's not how they operate.
They
They
don't
think
want
they have
them
an
to go out and
idealistic
rape, but they
world
want to
where you've
free
got
all
all these
people from
alter. No,
involuntary
Their
oh my
platform is
God.
literally
They
like
have
fucking
alternatives. They're
sloganeering
like,
and
oh,
shit,
here
bro.
is the
Like, you know that.
rehabilitation programs, and here are all the fucking, the rehab for the drug users. Like, they don't think like, well,
Hey, can you show
we
that on
don't
screen,
lock
please,
up
Dylan?
people who do crime. Let's
This
just
is from
let
the
them do
2021,
crime. Like, that's
I'll
not
send
how
you
it
the link to the
works.
thing
And I
directly.
don't even agree with them.
Well-
Like, you got to be at least seriously engaging with their ideas.
Well, let me ask this on
This
behalf
is
of the
the
entire
serious
conversation.
idea
on
that they put in their platform.
What do you
Let
think
me
it
ask this about
means when
about
they
The
the
say
agenda.
MPC
Let
put
me
a slogan on their platform,
DSA
yeah. And if you were to
largely-
ask
second.
anybody, even the
Please
fucking
give me a
tanky
moment.
types,
This isn't
they're
the
going to
fucking
be saying that
slogan,
we
this
don't
is
want to
the
just let
policy.
rapists go around and rape.
Okay. I did
Sorry,
2
Dylan.
mutes. I didn't want to do that. You're all so beautiful. You're all God's children, but I had to do it. When you look at DSA's agenda, they have won on this agenda largely in very, very blue urban centers, right? When these ideas that they're talking about on the DSA platform, which sometimes is very theoretical or very, let's just say, utopian in the way that they want to view like the goals to prescribe, eventually get to. You read those, and it does to a lot of people. If you read like abolish prisons, they're just going to think, oh, let the rapist out. Like if you want to have a long policy conversation about, well, reformative criminal justice, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But when going against MAGA in 2028, and if that's what DSA wants to do, if you go in there with anything on your website or type of messaging that could easily make it look like
Crazy, yes.
Trump might be Trump is bad, but these people want to let the rapists out. This is something that, regardless of even policy implementation,
it's
very dumb.
It's super funny. It's super funny. MAGA did the same thing in 2024. They wrote a policy prescription, Project 2025. And then when people ask them directly, are you going to do 2025? They're like, oh, no, this is all just theoretical. We're not really going to. I've never heard of 2025.
Your politics is made of slippery slope.
To get elected and implement Project 2025. This is just blue MAGA bullshit.
Nice. Okay, so
they had a little outline that they designed over fucking years and years.
Are you familiar with Zoran Mamdani's like Rikers closure like policy position?
Can you repeat that, please?
Are you familiar with Zoran Mamdani's Rikers policy, like on closing it? His policy on closing Rikers?
On closing Rikers specifically? No.
Yeah.
Okay. So as someone who in the past has said things like, yeah, I want to abolish prisons, everyone's scaremongered because he's like, I want to close Rikers. And you look at what he's doing now, it's closing Rikers and opening smaller facilities and around New York and opening therapeutic facilities, but not let's release the prisoners into New York to go around and murder and rape and do all this shit. Like, this is just not what it means. And so you can say, I don't support this. I don't support the abolition of prison as an institution.
We're debating the DSA.
Are we talking about how the DSA candidate works? Like, I'm sorry, like you have this imagined straw man of a thing I don't even agree with, and I have to sit here and listen to you just talk about it incorrectly, and it's very frustrating that you don't even like bother. I like, how many times have you
guys not read?
You haven't even he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't
have you
care.
read anything?
He wants the
like the book they base this on? Have you like looked up like what their imagined world is? Like I have, and it's not let's let them all out. It's just a lot more idealistic than I think can be accomplished, but that's not their position. It's not let all these fucking criminals go rape.
Okay,
so it's
you say that, but why should I believe you?
I say that?
So if you were good faith,
on their
Wick, if you were good faith,
all people
Wick,
from
if you were good faith,
confinement.
Wick, if you were good faith, you would have listened to what Soypil just said. And the essence of what Soypil just said is when people who have espoused these cringe slogans before get into,
you guys are crazy.
Wait a second. So I'm about to explain in good faith what Soypil just said to you before you just spazzed out. All right. So what he just said was, in a good faith interpretation, when these types get into power, see Mamdani, see AOC, the kind of reforms that they offer when they actually have authority isn't anything like this kind of nirvana ideal shit. To Dylan's point, obviously this shit should be off any website. It's cringe to talk about in those terms. And yeah, that's maybe one reason Dylan should, if he thinks he's going to be effective, should change those things, right? And people should change those slogans and moderate them or whatever. But you need to address what Soypil said, which is the evidence that we shouldn't be as scared is because people who have spouted these slogans off before get into positions of authority and then don't do the thing that you're saying they will certainly do.
Because they can't.
Oh, really? Is that so?
You think that Mamdani would let the rapist go if it were up to him?
Why do you think he wants to do that?
You think that Mamdani would let the rapist go rape if it were up to him?
Yeah, why? Why would he do that?
You're fucking insane.
Because he is, again,
why hasn't he fired all the police? Can he fire all the police? Why can't he fire the police? We can fire the chief. He can be like, hey guys, new mandate. Oh, so it sounds like you understand these people are going to be operating within constraints, including their constituents.
Didn't he? Do you think that they want to? And what would be the evidence? No. If someone comes up to you, Pisco, and says, I want to stab you.
Yeah, I think that's.
But I can't.
Yeah, so bring it to those examples. That's all you got. That's all you got. Yeah, bring it to that example, which is not applicable to what we just said.
All I got is their policy positions and words.
So look what Wick just did.
You guys are just like it's like you believe Trump when he says no, I'm not.
You're intellectually like MAGA.
But he absolutely does it. You're blue MAGA.
Trump has motives.
Exactly 1-to-1.
Trump has motives that make sense.
Two things.
Trump says things in Project
Sorry.
2025,
I
and we
had
can
to-
say,
I had
"Oh,
to
this
do
is
it again.
obviously what." Oh,
So you're talking to nobody. Okay. 2 questions. The first one, involuntary confinement. What does that mean? Because I'm going to be honest, like, as much as I imagine that they mean something like reformative, all of confinement will be involuntary for a rapist or a murderer. And so even under the most like passionate, like well-meaning, like, oh well, I'm sure what they mean is send the rapist to like the sheep hugging farm or like to reform their soul. Involuntary confinement sounds
a
pretty much
euphemism.
like don't put them in any sort of cage, don't put them in any sort of confined space. Even if that's not what they mean, that seems like a giant like bullseye to put on a candidate like AOC who's going to be facing a lot of
Wait,
critique if she
involuntary
was to make a run
confinement-
like this tied to an organization.
Involuntary confinement is I
No?
mean that just sounds like a euphemism for prison, that they want to use like nice words for shit and remake these institutions but with rainbows and hugs and shit. That's kind of what I take from it. But that's not the question, right? The question is
It
not
doesn't
whether
sound like that at all, though.
Wait,
really. I mean,
involuntary
it might be-
confinement?
if you're in spaces, you might be able to have that in the back of your mind. But anybody who's not in DSA is going to hear involuntary
agree.
confinement and think any sort of type of incarceration.
no, wait.
There's two different things, but I think the most important, if we're going to be talking about whether or not people should be joining DSA, it should be on the basis of infrastructure. It should be on the basis of like electoral strategy. It should be on the basis of winning. It should be on the basis of
let's
what
go with
it
winning.
can do.
What
Not
have
shut
they
the fuck
won
up, Wick. Shut
nationally?
the fuck
Well,
up.
I
You
would
keep
like-
this
I would
going
like
out
to
for a
hear-
second. All right, use your listening skills. It shouldn't be on the basis of like what the national platform puts on their fucking website. Because if you join DSA, you're joining a local chapter that are going to be doing things that are specific to the local politics, and every chapter is going to be different. And most people are not caucused. Most DSA members are not caucused. Most DSA members are going to be people that join because of Mamdani or AOC or Bernie or whatever. Most of these people, if they were to look at what's on the website platform, they're going to roll their eyes. Most DSA members are going to roll their eyes at that shit. And like, I am frustrated by the national DSA for putting up a fucking platform on their website as if they're representative of the members of DSA when they're not. I find that shit fucking annoying. But if we're talking about whether or not you
How's
should
the
join
national
DSA,
platform
let's talk
decide
about it in
it,
terms
you
of
know?
like what DSA is,
How do they decide
not
the national
what
platform?
you can paint a DSA as. If you were to pretend to be a fucking moron like Wick,
Oh,
who's
can you
just
answer
like
the
too
question?
dumb to think critically. It's like,
You
oh, if I
keep
imagine
using
that I'm
words
fucking
that you don't
stupid and can't think
understand,
critically, and I
like
look at these
dumb
things on the
or think
website, yeah, that's
critically,
not
and
good
you can't answer
electorally.
single questions, direct questions. that
Go
I've
ahead,
posed
Wick.
to
I
you
was
online.
talking, but now I'm not.
You
Very
asked,
good.
you said in your little spiel there, your little rant, right? Your little
Mhm.
psychotic rant, that
Oh,
you
God.
said
Yes.
it's about winning. So I'm going to ask you
Mhm.
again for the 4th time.
No.
Where has the DSA won nationally?
Stop. You
against
didn't listen.
Again,
you didn't listen to him.
completely misinterpreted
Okay.
it.
He said no.
It's
no,
like you
no,
know
no,
nothing
wait,
about
wait,
electoral
Wick,
strategy
Wick,
here.
Wick,
You just want to
Wick,
virtue
you-
signal.
You
Fourth time
misheard
you
it.
dodged
Wick,
this
Wick,
question.
Wick,
I'm
Wick,
gonna
Wick,
ask you a
Wick, Wick.
fifth
You
time.
That's not the
misheard.
question.
Wick,
Yes,
Wick,
it
Wick,
is.
Wick, Wick. There's a
Where
false
has
assumption.
the DSA
Wick, there's a
won
false
nationally
assumption in your question.
against MAGA?
So you didn't listen. What Jordy said was, if you're going to join this organization, it should be for electoral reasons. Did you hear him make a conditional statement? Yes
Did
or
he
no?
say winning?
He said if you're joining the
Did he say
DSA.
winning? Yes
Wait,
or
wait,
no?
wait, 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 wait.
Did he say winning?
As part of a conditional
Does winning entail
statement, as
beating
part
MAGA
as
in
part
national races?
as part of
Yes
a
or no,
as
Pisco?
part of a
Yes or
conditional
no?
as part of a
Yes or
condition
no?
as part
Yes
of a
or
condition
no?
as part of a conditional statement, Jordy said, if you're joining these organizations, it should be because A, B, C, D. Nowhere in what he just said then did he say a DSA member has won a national election, by which I assume you mean
Of
the
course
presidency.
didn't say
He
that
did not
because
say
it's not
that.
true.
Then
But
why are
when
you
he
attacking
says
a straw
winning
man?
I don't
is
even know if I would
important,
make the position
which
that I
he
think
did
the
say
DSA
that
member
it
running
involves winning.
nationally
And
is
he
going to be
said
the best
if you
strategy.
want to
Like
join
there's
the
nothing about what I
DSA,
said
it should be
that
based
needs to
let
be
me
that
hear
the
Wick's
DSA member
one of
is the only
those
person who
being
can win on
winning.
a national
Again,
strategy.
Jordy, you're
Nowhere did I say
humiliating
that.
yourself right now.
Hear
It's
any-
really embarrassing.
Sorry. We're gonna have Wick go, then we'll have Jordy go, and then I'll throw Soy in there out of sympathy for Soy.
And you guys can
since
roll
he
back
hasn't
the tape.
spoken in a
Yeah,
long
you guys
time.
can roll
And
back
then I
the
have
tape.
some questions.
Are we
Then I
good?
have some questions.
Okay, sure. Yeah, we can roll back the tape. In his little spiel there, Jordy said that winning was an important part. If you want to join the DSA, it should be based on winning. And again, if we want to, the question of the night is, should I join the DSA? Well, if you want to win, I think it's a perfectly fair question to ask. Okay, is the DSA winning, or can the DSA win more than moderates or the current Democratic
It's not
Party?
entailed in
And
what
I
he
think
said
the
that
reason
they
he
won a
won't answer
national
this
election.
question that I asked, which is,
I'd like to hear
Where
it.
He
has the
doesn't
DSA
affirm that.
won
This is
nationally
bad
against
faith,
MAGA
right?
is
So
because
he
knows
just
the
told
answer
you.
is
Wait,
If it's bad
zero.
faith or not,
He
I'd
just-
like to
None.
hear it.
MAGA
from
has
the bad faith.
BTFO'd them every fucking
so-
time. They
so
have won
Wick is being
no
bad
time.
faith, right?
Trump,
And
MAGA has beat the DSA
So,
on every front.
all he's doing is virtue signaling. That's all he has.
It's
He's
not
misrep-
virtue
So
signaling. We
nowhere
are
in what
getting to the
Jordy.
heart of the
So
question.
no
You keep
nowhere
dodging.
nowhere in what Jordy just said did he imply. In fact, he specifically repudiated the notion that DSA he expects or even would want to run that as a national strategy. And notwithstanding his explicit repudiation, you're ascribing that belief to him because you're bad faith, right?
Is winning important? Yes or no?
I believe it's important. Yeah.
Okay. So if a organization has not demonstrated the ability to win on a national stage, and you have a
Has
competing
Liberal Action
organization
Network
that
demonstrated?
has,
Wait, all right, we'll just
with
do this. You know you're cooked.
organizations
You
to
know you're
control.
cooked. You know where I'm about to go. You're about to be cooked. So has Liberal Action Network demonstrated that it can win on a national scale? Yes or no?
It hasn't run in a race. It hasn't lost. ever yet.
Oh, wait a
Oh.
second. So you shouldn't join it, right?
But we shouldn't join, yeah, because they haven't demonstrated effectiveness. We
Fucking
should join,
cooked.
right?
All you have are
I
slogans
think
and virtue
that it is
signals.
fair. I think it is fair to say, hey, until the Liberal Action Network can't
Don't
showcase
join
that
our
they're able to
organization.
connect-
No one
Don't
should
join
join.
I'm
us.
not
Don't
going to
join
join.
us.
I'd like to hear. I'd
That's
like to hear
fair.
Wick finish.
That's
I'd like
fair.
to hear about the Liberal
But-
Action Network.
DSA has existed for how long?
I don't fucking know.
Roughly
Years.
like 70, 80 years.
Okay.
Like, since
70,
I
80
think
years.
Harrison founded it.
And they haven't beaten-
Meaningfully
and-
since
well,
like
let's just
2016. There
restrict
was
it
like
to the
very,
MAGA
very few
era.
people until
So they've
2016.
existed since 2016, and they haven't beat MAGA once, not fucking once on a national stage.
They haven't
if
run a
winning
candidate
matters to
for
you,
the same thing
I
you
can
just. They
point to a
haven't run a
competing
national
organization,
candidate. They
the
have not run a
Democratic
national
Party,
candidate. Hey,
which
Wick, the
has
same
beat MAGA.
response. The same
Which has
response.
beat MAGA on the national stage.
The Liberal Action
on
Network
the
has?
Senate
The
stage,
Liberal
on the
Action
local
Network?
stage,
The Liberal
it's
Action
beat it
Network?
on the federal
The
stage.
Liberal Action
It's
Network,
just-
which you just invented yesterday? That won on a national stage? Wick?
Did I say Liberal Action Network or did I say Democratic Party? Which
Okay,
one?
You said that you should
oh.
rather join the Liberal Action Network
Yes,
than the,
correct. You did say that.
DSA.
Yes.
Because
Yeah,
I
you're.
think that the Liberal Action Network
But they
does
haven't
not
proven
have
themselves
dog
on a
shit
national
policies that
stage.
require us to release rapists into the wild.
Oh, so now you're changing your argument. So now you realize you're cooked. Your
No,
logic
these
was
are two
flawed,
arguments
and now
that
you're
are happening in
cooked.
parallel. I know
Oh,
it's
and you're
hard
oscillating
to
between
come
them because
more
you're
than
cooked.
one idea or thought at a
Not
time,
as easy when
or
you
to
don't
hold
have a
one
hug
more
box
idea or
panel where you're
thought
just
at a time
talking
in
shit
your
about
head.
Hassan
I know
Piker,
it's
is it?
difficult, but let's try and let's see if we can do it. Okay?
Let's
argument
throw it over. I'm sorry, Wick, but I do want to make sure there's some people that are not getting some time to talk, and I feel like I understand. I want to just throw out there quickly. Originally, Wick's answer was Democratic Party, and then when we talked about other organizations, he suggested the Liberal Action Network. As I see that he is trying to build it up.
Yeah, but the
I think
DSA
that
would.
was
Yeah,
his-
but the
his
DSA would
intention.
say we should just run as Democrats, and that's been their strategy. And so there's nothing inconsistent. Now, listen, I would, on all else equal, support a non-DSA candidate if the policy platforms are like aligned, in my view, and because I don't believe in socialism, I think these like are cringe associations. But that's not the question. The question is, should you or should you not join the DSA? My view on that is I wouldn't. But if you can do some good, and if you can move this organization to a more moderate place or a less cringy place, if someone like Jordy or someone like fucking Dylan Burns can get them to be based on Ukraine and based on like not saying these weird slogans, why is that bad, right? Why can't this operate?
I'll answer. I'll answer
Yeah.
your question.
How is that
Why
not
it
beneficial?
bad?
Do you think
Democratic
that's
Party.
realistic, Wick? That could be achieved?
No, it's possible. But if we want to use our time effectively, if we want to use our resources effectively, if we want to be the most effective with what limited resources we have, then there are far better options than trying to fix the organizational equivalent of a guy who punches the drywall, right? You can look at these things and see the Democratic Party would be far, far easier to achieve any goal or policy aim that you want to achieve that isn't like fucking crazy.
So where's the DSA
right?
equivalent?
Now, look,
Where's the DSA
if
equivalent?
you are
So
someone
easy.
who wants to abolish the police for real, then fine.
Didn't you say that you would vote for Tiffany
but
over
I don't
Hong?
want you in my Democratic Party if you're that kind of person. So
Oh,
Didn't you
in
say that you
your
would vote
party.
for an election denier over Hong?
over
Oh,
Hong,
you did.
yes.
You did
And
say
you
that.
know
yeah.
what? You're welcome because
So you don't give a
I
shit.
say
You don't give a
You
shit.
saved us. You saved
you
us.
son. You understand, Jordy. that
You don't give a
I
shit
would
about
like
the
to
Democratic
avoid
Party at all. You don't give a shit
Wisconsin
about the
law. You
electoral
understand
system
that,
at all,
right?
do you?
That
I want
you,
everybody-
through
You would throw a
supporting
wrench
Hong,
in the entire thing to not have
you
socialist win.
understand that,
Wick.
correct?
I need to hear how Wick saves Wisconsin. I'm too Fascinated. I was in
So,
Ukraine, so I think I missed this.
Yes. So in the run up to the primary in Wisconsin, Hong looked inevitable. Okay. Hong was up by 22, 25 points in all the polls. She had that on lock. We had a lot of conversations about if or when Hong wins the primary, should we support her? Me and other liberal creators, Mr. Mooten being one of them,
We did
took
it,
a
Reddit.
strong stance and said, fuck no, we should not. This lit a fire into the asses of Democrats and liberals within the state of Wisconsin who said, oh shit, if people like, and it wasn't, to be clear, me specifically, but people like James Carville, people like Bill Maher, people like Wick, people like Mr. Mooten, people like all these other
People like
liberals,
you.
a lot of us were
It was
saying,
Tony
"You're
Evers.
not under
It was
any-
Tony
you.
Evers. Why are you fronting?
Not
It was
you.
Tony
You need to find
Evers.
It
was Evers.
You can't let me answer a question to save your life, man. Like,
Wait,
we need to
what did
find
Ja Rule think though?
an
Did
alternative.
he help?
So they went and they got Crowley and they boosted him up, and thank God we won. It was close, but we won. And now we have a shot in Wisconsin. If Hong had won, MAGA would win in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
in the
because you'd
general.
vote for that.
And again, you're welcome. You're welcome. You can thank me
This
later,
is
Jordy.
completely tangential and just fucking weird to what I said.
You didn't
was
listen
clarifying
at
the
all
fact that you
because
said
I
that you
think
would
you're
rather vote
retarded.
for an
I think you're
election
mentally
denier who was.
broken. You don't
You
understand
are mentally broken,
concepts.
yes.
You don't
Yeah, you are
understand
mentally
second
broken.
order effects. You don't understand
Second order effects of you
basic
voting for an
rhetoric.
election denier? You said that you would vote for an election denier
And what happened because of
over a
that?
socialist. You said that you would vote for someone who would rig the election.
because you
No,
said that,
that
yeah.
you thought Hong would win. You didn't say
again,
that because you
what
thought it
was
would
the
help
result
Hong
of
lose.
that? What was the second order consequence of that?
That's not why you said it.
Crowley won.
Let me
what are you
let me
talking
let me
about?
ask
That was
the
it. Hold on.
question.
Pisco,
let me
no,
ask the
this is
question
important.
directly.
Yeah, yeah.
This will
Ask me.
this will
Pisco,
allow you to
This is
take the
important.
platform for a
The
second.
governor
Wick,
of Wisconsin who went out and
if
voted
Hong had
Crowley,
won I really want to ask this, Wick. It'll just answer your questions for you. If Hong had won the primary, would you have voted for you if you were a voter in the state?
no, I would not.
Well, why
He would have
is
voted
that?
for.
Is
He would have
the-
voted for Tom Tiffany.
Is the risk of
I
having
wouldn't
an
have voted
election
at all. I would have
denier
voted
running
for
a
the House.
swing
Would have
state
stayed
not significant enough to motivate for you to vote for anybody else?
Can you repeat that question? Sorry.
Is the seriousness of a election denier who wanted to overturn the election results running a swing state in 2028 not a significant enough risk to say that it doesn't really matter?
This is-
Like,
and again, I think
anybody
that the
should win.
risk of putting my backing and my party's backing behind Hong would have lost us seats in other races. So again, I will sacrifice one election to save 10 elections.
To have
Right?
someone
That's
who
You
would
think
rig
fine.
the
Hong's
disagree
like
with my
toxic
calculation.
influence
That is
would be
sacrificing
tied
all
to the
elections.
party in a way that would bring its popularity down, that would then make Sherrod Brown or Roy Cooper or
Yes,
somebody who
yes.
could win?
Less
How would
Based
that
on
work?
based on
Would
what,
it
right?
be, well, how would they tie them? Just say that they're both candidates, or that because these people don't hang out, right? So would it just be they're both in the same party and that would be enough?
Yes, party brand matters, right? The
Mm.
Democratic brand matters. And we can see this when we look at different individual parties or policies, I should say, when they're run without a D next to their name, the policy does pretty well. But as soon as you put the D next to their name in certain states, because the Democratic Party brand is toxic in some ways.
And who's led
right?
the
Because of
party?
people like Jordan
Wick?
being tied to that.
Oh,
right? And
really?
no one wants to
Oh,
be in a
Wick,
party
Wick.
with
That's why the
Jordan.
party
They
brand is
fucking
You don't
bad.
think that you don't think that putting the
Right?
D
Again,
you don't think that putting this D logo next to a position of voting for Tiffany over a Hong, you don't think that that would be harmful for the
Hold on.
Democratic Party? You don't think that that would harm the Democratic
Hold on.
brand to
think I
vote
would've
for
voted
someone
for
who would
Tiffany?
be rigging elections?
Jordan,
The Democratic
Jordan,
brand.
would I have voted for Tiffany?
You said you would.
No.
You said you would.
You said
I would
okay.
vote
No,
for
you said you would. No, you did the
would
coward's way
vote
out
for
because no. I'll tell you why.
You said that you
I'll
would
tell
rather that Tiffany
yes,
won.
correct. To be clear, to be honest to Wick, Wick's
No, I
because he's a
was simply
coward.
not
Because
for
Wick is a coward,
Hong.
he didn't say he would
And
vote
again,
for Tom Tiffany.
the
No, and I'll tell you why.
reason I
I'll
did
tell
this
you why exactly he
is-
said that. I'll tell you why he
Wait,
didn't say he
I
would
want
vote.
to clarify the position. Wick, is your position that you would not support Hong, or that you would have voted against her in the general?
No, I would not support her. No
He
vote.
wants MAGA.
He-
He
I
said
He said he would
not
rather
voted
that
on
Tiffany
election,
win.
Not voted at all.
But he
And
didn't want
again,
the clip
this
of
is the
him
argument
saying,
that the
I would
governor
vote for
of
a
the state
Republican.
made
That's the
in
only
the 2
reason
weeks
he didn't say
where
that
Crowley
he would
re-entered
vote.
the race. He went around and he made my argument. He made my argument,
Who?
which wasn't again only mine or solely mine. He made
Crowley
my
didn't
argument. to
say
people of
MAGA
Wisconsin,
should win.
and it worked. motherfuckers. It
That
worked.
wasn't your intention when
That's
you
not
made the
right.
statement.
It was my intention.
No,
You
it
have
fucking.
done it
You were
otherwise.
resigned to the
You
loss.
thought
I really
lose.
gotta. I don't want to be too aggressive on this, but I gotta ask Wick this question. Hong's last polling data that came out right after the election was she had a popularity rating of I think 22 to 25%.
Well, I
That
don't know if
is
it's popularity, but she was ahead in the
Well,
polls,
she-
22 or something.
well, I meant that she was only at 22% of the state that would say that they liked her. That the vast majority of people in the
Oh,
state,
fair enough.
59% said they didn't like Hong. That is like atrocious polling. It
Yeah.
also is roughly the same as the Democratic Party. So do you think that, like, honestly, that wouldn't have had an effect since they're both just unpopular anyway?
An effect on what specifically? Just so I understand.
Well, if they're
party
both
brand.
unpopular, how would you make them more unpopular by hurting their brand?
Well, hold on. Do you think that we can't go down from 22%? Do you think that's
Yeah,
our floor?
But the question that was asked of you
28%,
presupposes
I don't
some
think it
level
is.
of
I think it
parity
is-
in the popularity
Well, it
rating.
was more of a question of like it seems like the risk to reputational damage might not be as significant if they're already both very unpopular as the risk to the democracy itself by allowing a election denier to control a swing state. That would be my concern.
That's fair. And it's a look, I'm not saying that it isn't a valid concern, but I made the calculation. You could disagree with my calculation, but I made the calculation that by refusing to put
Yep.
my weight, clout, and support behind
It would
Hong,
have that effect.
that
It would have
send
that
a
effect.
signal to the electorate that they cannot
How
vote
convenient.
for this person.
And
They
you also made a
cannot.
calculation that if Joe
Maybe.
Biden stayed in the race in 2024, he would have won. And so what use are your
Yeah, he probably would've.
calculations, Wick? He probably would have, he said. And so based
he
on that,
probably would've.
against all of the mountain of evidence we have, I respect Kamala
You know,
Harris.
like how Hong
I
was
love
up
Kamala
22
Harris to
points?
this day because
Or
she
how
saved
El Sayed was
us.
up 15
She
points,
saved
that
she
kind of
saved us.
Okay.
She saved us from having another 6 Senate seats, lost the Republicans, and losing fucking New Jersey. And Wick wants to promise you, based on his history of prognoses, that if Hong would have lost in a hypothetical matchup with a general, that would have had these cascading electoral benefits. Well, I don't
you
trust
understand if
your
Hong got-
prognoses, Wick. I don't trust them. You still hang
Hong
on to
got
the
elected in
Biden shit.
the
It's
primary,
cooked.
If Pisco, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If Hong got elected in primary, would she have had a better chance or a worse chance
Than Crowley?
getting elected in the general?
Much less. I preferred Crowley to
Yes.
win. I preferred.
Well,
hey, Wick,
therefore,
Wick. I preferred Crowley to
Hong
win.
would have given the seat effectively. to
That's
Maga.
not the question. I preferred Crowley to win, Wick.
He would
I
have lost.
preferred.
That doesn't
Hey,
follow
hey,
at
Wick,
all.
Wick. I preferred Crowley to win,
might lose.
but you said if Hong would have won, you wanted the Republican to
The
win,
primary.
and yes, that's correct. And you would have wanted Tom Tiffany to win. And the
No,
reason
I
you
said
said
I
I
would
would
not
sit
have
out.
what you said.
That is what you said. No, I didn't say that you would vote. The reason you, to
No,
be
it
honest,
would be better for the party.
yeah,
Like,
that's
what I
right.
want
But you
is
That's
did
what
not
you
commit.
want. You
That's
want
what
what's
you
best for the
wanted.
party, Wick. Why are you
So,
dodging?
there's a reason. There's a very simple reason why Wick refused to say, notwithstanding his preference, that he would vote. And that reason is he didn't ever want to say, I would vote for a Republican, even if he acknowledges it's the
No,
lesser
it's
of two
because I'll
evils.
never vote for Republican. They call for red lines.
Even if it
But
were
you'd rather
Hitler.
them win.
Wait.
You would rather
If it
them
were
win,
Hitler
though.
who was a Democrat, you wouldn't vote for the Republican to save us against Hitler? Are you an anti-Semite?
A MAGA. I would never vote for MAGA, to be clear.
Oh, even if it were Hitler on the other
prefer-
side.
What
Win.
is it that you don't like about MAGA? You keep saying that you're like against MAGA. We have to beat them
Sure,
at
they're
all costs. But then
authoritarian,
someone
they
who
want
says
to,
somebody who says
take away
that they
the
would
rights
rig the
of people I care
election,
about.
you would
They
want
are
that person to win.
anti-Semitic, they're Islamophobic. All these things are the same reasons I oppose the DSA, by the way.
Yeah, ICE has people being thrown into fucking camps.
Sure, we
right
should
now.
abolish
You think
ICE.
the DSA is equivalent to MAGA?
Hold on. We should abolish ICE. I want to abolish ICE.
Yeah, of course.
That's not
of
the
course.
question.
But
That's
you're
not the
gonna-
question.
You're gonna make
That's
that
not the
a moral
question.
equivalence to DSA?
Yes, the DSA wants to abolish prisons.
They want to let
which
the
is,
rapists go out
again,
and rape. You're fucking brain
pretty
dead.
much the worst.
Okay.
You're pretty much
wait,
brain
wait,
dead.
wait. I need to pause Wick on
Okay,
this.
you're
'cause he
pretty
keeps
much
bringing it up.
a fucking
Wick,
retard. Okay.
Wick. I
How's
forgot
the
when
medication
your birthday
doing,
was
by the way?
recently. I'm gonna buy you "Our Prison's Obsolete" by Angela Davis because you can read this and you can understand that yes, as shitty as this is, in my opinion, it's an idealistic position. The idea that you genuinely believe Zoran Mamdani says, "Damn, if I had it my way, I would just let rapists and murderers go rape and murder. That's my want and prescription because that's
Whether
better
they
than locking them up."
intend
You
that
are
to
insane.
be the
Listen to me,
effect
Wick.
or
This is
not,
not
that is the
their
effect.
position. No, that's not what they want. They want reform. They want rehabilitation. And assuming they got to a place where all of their perfect things existed and these people still wanted to rape and murder, you know what they'd fucking do? They'd lock them up. They wouldn't be like, you know what? Just let them rape and murder. There's nothing we can do about it because we're just principally opposed to the concept of not letting them rape and murder. That's not what they want.
I'm literally a dues-paying member of DSA and a
Every
Marxist
time
in
you say this, I
Portland,
just bring up their
Oregon,
policy and
motherfucker.
show it
I'm
to my
literally,
people, right?
I'm literally a fucking dues-paying member of DSA and a Marxist in Oregon. In Portland, Oregon, okay? If you think that I've met a single person who says that they would want the rapist to go out and rape, you're fucking insane.
I think you lie.
Why would they lie? Wick, when you brought up 2025 and you said, look, Project 2025, Trump lied about it because you know why he lied? Do you know why he lied, Wick? He lied because those positions are unpopular. He did not want to run on things like all of the reforms, all of the tax cuts, all of the abolishing of judges and filling in loyalists, right? But he wants to do that, right? We know he wants to do that because that helps him. It makes sense to lie because it's electorally good. Why would Zoran Mamdani want to release murderers into the wild? Why would he want this?
He doesn't now because this is the start.
He doesn't.
Why would he want to?
He doesn't fucking want this.
Why the fuck would anyone want to?
Hold on. Because they believe that involuntary confinement is worse. And if they have to, they don't want to. They don't want to, but they think the alternative is worse. And I know this
masking on,
because
like,
they say it in their policy
than people getting stabbed.
Okay,
is locking up a guy
now,
that stabbed
if you
someone.
think that there is another policy that they secretly hold that's better,
no, you think that. You think they have a secret policy.
It's not secret. I'll show it again on screen.
All right. How many people in DSA do you think, if you were to ask every single person in DSA, how many people would say exactly what you just said?
None, because there are a lot of them are mask on, bitch.
If they were in a secret room talking to each other,
I mean,
the majority of DSA, what do you think that they would say? What percentage of DSA do you think would say in a secret room where they're only talking to each other? What percentage of DSA do you think would say that they want rapists to go out and rape?
No. The question is,
no, well, that's not a percent, is it? Give me a percent.
Would end involuntary confinement.
Give me a percent. Give me a percent.
What percent do you think it is that would end involuntary confinement if they could?
0.
None. Well, that's
not even one person.
How does the national policy of the DSA get implemented? Do you know? Or get decided?
What I'm asking you is, if you were to ask every single person in DSA, they're in a room, maybe they think that you're a tanky or whatever the fuck, that you're one of the good ones or some shit. Every single one of them, if you were to ask them, how many of them would want to just open up all the prisons and let people roam free, all the rapists can go out and rape or whatever the fuck, what percentage of them do you think would say, yes, that's what I want?
Well, enough voted on it to put it on their national platform.
That's what they voted. Enough voted on that
to put it on there.
You're fucking cooked, dude. You're cooked.
Okay, you keep.
You're looking for whatever reason that you can fucking
show it on my screen every time you say this. I just show what the national policy says.
We all disagree. We all disagree.
Yeah, of course you're gonna run away. You're gonna run away from the actual
point. So Wick, you agree? Do you agree that we all disagree with that policy as written, as stated?
I don't think he does. I don't think Jordy does.
You think that I want people to go around and rape, dude? I literally said that I don't even think that the national platform should exist.
Mask on to get horrific.
Okay, assume he's not lying. Assume he's not lying. Assume he's not lying. Assume he's not lying. All right. Given that these policies are cringe and shouldn't have been posted and should be reformed, now what? Because think about like the Democratic Party itself. The Democratic Party itself, you know, in the 19th century, in the early 20th century, you know, it's kind of a sordid past. You have like racist shit, pro-slavery stuff. Like it is the case that people can join. And I'm not saying I would join the DSA. Again, I want to underline, I would not join the DSA. But it is the case that someone can be effective in moderating a party, changing its outlook, or somehow making it more palatable. And the examples we have of DSA members who come into power, AOC, Mamdani, etc., we're not seeing the craziest expressions of this ideology. I don't think we are. And given that, why should we treat them all as like, you know, these horrible, I don't even know what to say, like basically fascists? Is that's kind of what you want us to do? Yeah. Why should we treat them that way if what we're seeing isn't really in line with our expectations, given what you're sort of selling?
Hold on. But it is in line with my expectations. I expect at the early stages of this, when they first get into small bits of power, like the mayor of New York City, right, and they get these things, what they will do is they will mask on for a long time, and they will hold the door open for their more extreme buddies to kind of get in. And we saw
So I'll
this
ask your
happen with
question.
Bernie
When
Sanders,
have we seen that
and
in
we're seeing this
American
happen with
history?
Mamdani,
So
right?
I'll
Where
ask that
he,
question. In
again,
American history,
endorsed,
when have socialists done this in
Chevrolet,
American history?
right? This
Chevrolet is not
exactly
in
as
in
expected.
in
This
federal
isn't
office
something
yet.
that I'm surprised about. This is how they would do it if they were going to engage in entryism.
I see.
This is how they would play
So
it.
you're saying
And they
because
would
that's
get
how
more and more power
Yeah.
and more trust until they got enough power and enough positions of power to actually
What would it take to
implement
convince
the
you
things that
otherwise?
they
What would
say
it take to
on
convince
their
you?
national
What would it
policy
take?
platform
So wait, the question
they
is
would
as
do?
follows:
They call it
What
the
would it?
big
What would
debate.
it
Pretty
take?
simple.
What would it take to convince you that this isn't really the threat that you're portraying it to be? What would convince you of that?
I think that if I were to see the fact that they were all changing their policy positions over years and years and years, then okay, this wouldn't happen. What would it take to show you that they are, though?
Yeah,
What would
if they
need to
take
happen?
if they take office and start proposing the measures that are complained of, correct?
Hold on. Do you think that if they perhaps endorsed someone who had a history of saying of their
No.
organization saying things
No,
like our
because I've
goal is
seen
to
it.
destroy
No,
the
no.
West?
This is why. This
Do
is
you think
why.
that that would
this
be
this
evidence
is
of
why,
anything at all?
Wick. I'm telling you
Do you
why.
think that would be evidence
This-
of anything at all?
Not based on the track record we have. I'll tell you why.
Not
I'll
based
tell,
on the track
wait,
record.
Wick, let
So them
me tell you.
endorsing
Wait, so
someone
now
like
you're
Chevrolet,
just
whose
so look at this
organization,
shit.
UAB,
So bad
has,
faith.
again,
You
made
can't do it.
statements
I am
saying
trying to
that
address
their
what you're saying.
goal
So
is to
you're
destroy
trying to
Western
run over the
civilization.
conversation because you know you're cooked because I have a response
not
to it.
running over the
Yes, you
conversation. I'm
absolutely
asking
are. It's
questions.
bad faith
I'm
as
making
shit. Yeah,
points.
100%.
I'm providing
I want to
evidence,
respond.
and
No,
you
no,
just
you're
can't
no,
jump
you're
forward.
not. No. First of all, you're not providing evidence. You're asking a question. You're like, why aren't you afraid given these endorsements? And I have a response to that. You're not letting me get it out, and I'll get it out right now. The reason is we have people like AOC who have previously said prison abolition shit. Cringe. Fucking stupid. We have people like Mamdani who have said the same exact thing. And notwithstanding that, when they've gotten to office, what, is Mamdani now the most popular figure among Democrats? He is the most popular figure among Democrats. So there's a track record. There's a minimally demonstrative track record of these people not doing what you're saying. And so given that, does the best evidence, and this is the question, does the best evidence indicate that I'm correct, or does the best evidence indicate that you're correct?
I think the best evidence that we have is their stated goals. I think that is a better
my
set of
God.
evidence.
Why is that?
Then
Why,
one
wait,
single
wait,
person being
Why is
elected
this
in one
national
single city?
platform, which famously, if you were familiar with the DSA at all, is constantly in contention? All these little factions of the DSA are always fucking fighting with each other. You can look at like the multi-faction chart of the DSA; they all hate each other.
We hate each
Why
other.
is that stated platform more indicative than the
Because
actual
their
DSA
stated
candidates
platform is
that win
democratically
and then try to
decided
implement
within the part-
policy?
within the DSA? That's how they get their platform. They democratically decide it. And you may have dissenters and things like that,
Who's
but
voting
they
on
have
it?
a democratic
Who?
a coalition that gets together
The
and
United,
makes
the
a
United
vote
States as a
on these
whole
policies.
for the,
What
of the
should
DSA
be our
votes,
policies?
or is
And then
it
they vote
the
on it. And I
local
think that
chapters, or is
that
it who,
the fact
who's
that these
voting on it?
policies won that
Which members
vote
vote on it?
are
Wick?
something that should give you pause. And my whole argument tonight is if Dylan wants to be the most effective he can at getting what he wants to have accomplished, he need not tie himself to these dog shit positions, which even he has said
He doesn't.
are worse
He
than
doesn't. Wait, he
certain
doesn't.
instances.
He doesn't
And
tie
can
himself
just
to those
join the
positions.
liberal-
Why does he have to
just-
tie
He
himself
has
to
a
those
Ukrainian
positions?
flag.
Democratic
So, my homeboy has a Ukrainian flag
That's
behind
the
him.
whole
He's
argument.
reporting
You
from
have-
Ukraine,
you
and he's
dodged
not
from
tying.
that
No,
basic
no.
truth the whole night, man.
No. He has a Ukrainian flag behind him. He's one of his major issues. Everyone knows this is Ukraine advocacy. He is not committing himself to a given position. He's expressed to you what his desire would be in joining the DSA, which is to change their position when it comes to Ukrainian support and solidarity. That's what he's expressed to you. And you're like, he needn't do this. He should go to some other organization. And then it's like, well, why?
Because that would be more effective. If you want to be most effective for
Why would it be
Ukraine,
more effective?
That's what you should do instead of the DSA. Yes.
Wait, isn't it more
Why
effective to
would it be
change
more
people who
effective?
think differently as opposed to people who already agree with him?
I think that it's a much less big lift to take people who are already mostly in agreement with you and kind of light a fire under their asses to get even more involved. Yes, I think it's easier to get someone who mostly agrees with you to take action than it is to get someone who fundamentally opposes you to take action towards your goal.
Where's this
I think
liberal
that's just
DSA?
true.
So where's
The thing
this
is,
disagree
liberal?
with
and I
that.
think you find this with people that are elected from DSA that do have positions that are supportive of Ukraine. I think the thing that you find is that it's not about the IC or the NPC or anything like that. But if you were to poll like most people in DSA, that they would be aligned behind Ukraine. And so pushing for representation of that on the national platform would be the angle that you would want to do, because it would be popular within the DSA.
Yeah,
Just
but
because there's
why
infighting
would
with
you do that?
specifically caucused members, and most members are not caucused, by the way. This is actually like an attainable goal. And it would be pretty effective. The idea that, and by the way, like the DSA is not
Would it
like
be
this
more or less
top-down
effective
like
than
organization
getting
where
more
like,
support within
I'm
the
sorry, shut the
Democratic
fuck
Party
up,
for
shut the
Ukraine?
fuck up. I'm sorry. The DSA is not this top-down organization where like the party platform is put out by the NPC and then everyone just gets in line and just repeats it. That's not how it works. That's not how it works at all.
If you're a
When people
dues-paying
join the
member, you
DSA,
are
they're part
paying
of the
money
local
into that
DSA chapter that
organization
are
that has
actually
that
doing political
platform,
work
yes
on
or
the
no?
ground. Aggressor, shut the fuck up, dude. You have listening problems.
You have
have listening
talking problems.
That's not how it works. That's not how it works. That might be how it works for like how you think about
Hold on.
things. Is
When
that
you
get
pay
more
your
orders from above.
dues,
That's not how
do
it
you
works.
get to earmark where they go?
Did we not pay
Sorry.
taxes because taxes go to things you don't like, Wick?
Hold on. We
Sorry, I didn't hear you. I had a TTS.
Yeah, fair enough. Do you get to earmark where your membership dues go towards in the DSA?
Yes, you do. You get to earmark. Why are you asking stupid questions?
Because the
what does
argument
that have
is,
to do with
if
anything?
you are giving money to the DSA, you are, like it or not, funding these national policy
That's
positions.
everything.
I'm
Wick.
funding
No
them to
one
do the
agrees
hard
with
labor of putting
100%
things on their
any
fucking
group.
website.
Wick,
to
do
try
you
to
not pay
do
taxes
the
because your
organization
taxes
with
go
the
to killing
stated
babies,
goals
to go to
that they
MAGA stuff?
have
Do you not pay
on
your
their
taxes?
national policy position. That's what they're
Wick,
doing.
Cooked,
do you
bro.
not pay your taxes? Do you not donate to candidates unless you have a 100% agreement with them? This is such a silly argument.
No,
Like, of course,
but there
of
is
course
a
there's
point
not
where if I
100%
have
overlap.
some substantive disagreements with them, I don't donate. Yes.
Right. No one's saying you should join the DSA. You don't like most of the DSA stuff, but Dylan might have enough overlap where it might make sense, or anyone else who might want to join them. So it's
Because they're not going away. Oh, they're not going away, right, Wick? Wick, they're not going
Do
away,
you
right?
agree, Dylan? Do you agree with abolishing NATO?
Oh my God!
Right
what
now,
is this
no.
shit?
Okay. Do you, it's the. Did none of you research this beforehand? Did none of you
No,
look up
no,
the DSA
you're
national
no,
platform
you're
before
doing
you
a
did it?
virtue signal right now, as though we agree
It's
with
not a
abolishing
virtue
NATO.
signal.
Yes,
These
it
are actual
absolutely
Yes,
is.
it is. Literally a virtue signal.
All of us right here, none of us are saying that NATO should be abolished. You haven't heard that from any one of us, and so you're asking a stupid fucking question so you
But
can
the
virtue
DSA
signal.
is saying
No,
that.
we-
and we're
that's
arguing
assumed.
whether or not
That's
you should join
fucking
the
assumed.
DSA.
No,
Are you
that-
stupid?
No, that's assumed. That's
Are you
why
fucking stupid?
Dylan. No,
The
you're asking.
DSA
Wick,
is
that
saying
was
that.
Wick. That was baked into what
The DSA
Dylan,
is saying
Wick,
it.
that's baked into the rationale that Dylan has provided
So
as to
when
why to join.
I ask not Soy Pill. When I asked Dylan, does he think or agree with abolishing NATO?
You know he
and
doesn't.
we're talking
You
about
know
whether or
he
not
doesn't.
Dylan
You
should join
fucking
the
cuck.
DSA,
You know
it's
he
worth
doesn't.
discussing.
You know
It's
he
not a
doesn't.
virtue
No,
signal.
yes, it
It's
is.
worth
Because
discussing
no,
whether
because
he's
you
willing
know
to
you
support
know
that
he
position
doesn't. You
as a
know he
package
doesn't.
deal.
Hey, Wick, you know he doesn't. So you asked that just a virtue signal when he gave you a rationale. He was the one who explained how horrible the policy is on Ukraine. So you asking that question has no other purpose but to virtue signal and talk shit. That's the
Going down
only
the
reason you
line
did it.
and reminding him of how much he disagrees.
He knows
Do you
about
think
that.
reminding
You
him
think
That's
he's
of
a-
something
that's the
is
premise
important?
of this
Does that
panel, you
matter?
dipshit, you dumb bitch. What the fuck are you talking about? That's the premise of the panel.
Yes, whether he should join the DSA. Keep up, retard.
Based
For
on
what?
the
For what?
Look, at the end of
For
the day,
what?
For what?
in order to convince something of someone, you have to remind
So
them
why'd you ask
what
him?
it is that
So
they
why'd
either
you
like
ask-
about it
why'd you
or
ask Dylan that
dislike.
question?
You have
Did you
not
forget
answered
the DSA
one
position
single
on
direct
NATO?
question this whole night.
Dylan, did you
Fucking
forget about the
You
DSA?
literally
Hey,
fucking
Dylan.
forget.
Oh, I'm sorry.
None
Yo,
of
Wick,
you.
Wick is right.
You
Hey,
guys
Dylan.
need more
Dylan.
people, by the way,
D-
because you're embarrassing yourselves.
Dylan,
tonight.
hey, Dylan.
You've done such a piss poor job at
You are making Democrats more
putting
popular
forth
right now
your
by
position.
making you jiggle
You
like
couldn't
that.
even answer the simple
What question? What did we answer? What was the question?
policy position is it necessary to
Oh.
join the DSA to accomplish?
Nothing.
You couldn't answer
Nothing. It's not strictly.
Well,
No. We answered.
you
Wait, no.
said,
I just
"I'm gonna
wait.
dodge this completely."
Wick. I just
I
answered.
won
Wick.
at the opening bell.
I just answered that
You all
question.
just
Wick.
fell down.
So Wick, you just said. So Wick just said there's a question you didn't answer, and the question is, I asked what policy you need for DSA, and I said none.
Yes,
it's not
because
strictly
that
necessary.
matters.
No. Okay.
Yes,
it matters if it's.
It matters to the-
What pattern do you
argument.
need with the Democratic Party
Why-
for?
Where should we put our resources?
Yeah,
Where
what
should we
policy is
put our
necessary
time?
to join the
Where
Democratic
should we
Party with?
put our backing.
Wick,
Where should we
Wick,
put
what policy
our
is
clout?
necessary to join the
And I
Democratic
think that
Party?
if you
That's the
have to
question.
decide between
Wick,
the DSA and the
Wick,
Democratic
listening
Party, which I
skills,
believe you
listening
do,
skills.
you
Wick,
should do
Wick,
it into the Democratic Party.
Wick, what policy is necessary to join the Democratic Party?
That's not my argument. I think that you don't
Oh,
have to
why would you
decide.
answer the
question
question?
isn't,
Why would
should
you
join the
answer?
Democratic Party? The question is, should you join the DSA? And
No,
my
must you
argument
join
is
the
that any
Democratic Party,
policy
Wick?
that you could
The
put
reason that
forward,
was so delicious,
that
Wick,
is
the reason that Soy
progressive,
Pill's
the
question was so
Democratic Party
delicious
is a
is it
better
showed your reasoning
party to
for the
join.
bare virtue signal that it was. Because no one, of course,
Not a
is
bare virtue
no
signal.
one,
You
of
just
course,
can't understand
no
the
one, of
argument.
course, is positing that there's some necessary goal that can only be achieved through DSA. That's a straw man, and it's been answered now multiple times. And
thus-
what Soy Pill's
thus,
question
if there is
beautifully
none,
illustrated
then we
your
have to look at what
fallacious
baggage
reasoning.
you take on by joining the DSA.
Yeah,
And this is why
that's
we're
part of the
arguing
calculus.
about
That-
abolishing
yeah.
NATO, abolishing police, abolishing prisons, and
He's talking over
abolishing
Pisco
the
with virtue signals
executive and
because he knows that he
abolishing
spoke
the
on this.
courts to make them subservient towards Congress, which is
Wick, with how much
basically
you
taking
purity
checks and
test, you should
balances
join
and,
the
and
DSA.
fucking
You would fit
crushing
right
them.
in.
We haven't even gotten to that part. So this is the basic argument that if you tried, you could probably follow, but you've decided to go hard on me tonight or whatever for whatever reason. And so
Because
whatever
this
reason
is
you're
what you
deciding
do
to turn your
every
brain off
time,
here.
Wick.
But
So
we can obviously look.
you
that
want to be
if
the
there
most
is no
pure
policy
liberal,
position
right?
that necessitates joining the DSA. We have to look. Okay, well, what baggage are you taking on when you join the DSA? And then we list
That's of
all
course
the
part.
baggage, and I'm
yes.
saying this baggage is way worse than the
Absolutely,
Democratic
there's
Party's,
baggage.
so you should
Absolutely,
join the Democratic
there's
Party instead. That's the
okay.
argument.
So first of all, you can be a member of the DSA and the Democratic Party concurrently, correct?
I don't think that you should.
Whether you should
allow
okay, but you're acting as though you should join the Democratic Party instead, but you can be a member of both, right?
I don't think that you could be a member in good standing with both. I think that if you are a
So
member of the
AOC is not a
Party and you're
Democrat in
member
good
of
standing.
if you're a
Mom
member of the
Donnie is not a
Democratic
Democrat in
Party
good
and you're a member
standing.
of the If you
These
are
are
a member
not-
of the Democratic Party
DSA is
and a
an
member of the
organization, it's
DSA,
not a
you
party.
will either side
DSA
with
is
the
not a party, it's
DSA
an
more than the
organization.
Democratic Party, or side with the Democratic Party more than the DSA.
And of course,
in which
Wick
case,
is
you
the
should leave
authoritative.
whichever one you
He
side with
determines who's
less.
in good standing, right? Because there's no like
DSA is an organization
clearinghouse.
in the Democratic Party, by the way.
And just to be clear, you can be a member of both in good standing, I guess. Whatever it means to be a Democrat in good standing. I mean, RFK Jr. was running as the fucking Democrat in the primary in 2024. Was he a member in good
he a member in
standing?
good standing?
Yeah. What would it mean to be a member of good standing? You have no clue what you're talking about. That's not how the Democratic Party is run. The determinations about what the lines are in the primaries.
Jr. a member in good standing?
There is no, that notion doesn't apply. What do you mean to be a member in good standing?
When I say a member in good standing, I mean someone who, again, for the most part, agrees with
Wick's
follows, and
standard,
advocates
right?
for
So
the
being in good
policies, the
standing,
standard
all that
policies
means is
of the
so
Democratic
it's
Party.
circular,
That's
right? You
what I
understand
mean.
that?
Like
So
the
it's
DSA.
circular. What Wick is doing is circular. He's defining being
DSA
in good
electeds vote
standing
more
as
in line
not
with the
being
Democratic Party
DSA.
than Democrats.
Also true, by the way, that some DSA members have better voting records than the more moderate Democrats that you would align yourself with. Just saying, in terms of the agenda supporting like Biden stuff. But putting that aside, Wick, you just did a circular thing there, right? Because you're saying being in good standing is whether or not, you know, I agree that they're in line with our values, and of course, you're going to definitionally say the DSA is not in line with your values. So it's all circular.
What do you think the Democratic values
It's all
should be?
circular.
What is the values of a Democrat? What are the values of a Democrat?
Democracy,
wait,
democracy, maybe.
Are you asking me what I would want?
Yeah,
Are you asking me what I would want?
What would you name the top 3 Democratic values that you think that a
And
Democrat?
then after that, we have questions and somebody
Sure.
wants to call in to ask a question. Also, for those in chat, you know, I like money. Donate enough money. I might ask a question. I'm learning the Wick grind. Continue.
So my top values, what I would want to see represented in the Democratic Party right now
Yes, as
are
a platform.
protection of the Constitution of the United States of America and our liberal democracy. Number 2, anti-corruption efforts. And 3, punishing the MAGA traitors who have infected our system. Those are my top 3 issues.
But Wick, those aren't my top 3 policies, and I don't think I should join. I don't think I would be effective in that just because I align with those specific 3 values. They're not my top
Hey, those
3,
are my
and I
top
think
3
that would be a
policies,
waste of
though.
my time. So I'm
well,
not
what
gonna
are
do
your
it.
top 3 values, Soyful?
I haven't thought about it enough. I'm a lazy voter.
Well, you should think about that. You should decide. And
No, my top 3 are probably going to be climate
Israel.
change, higher progressive taxes, and healthcare. Yeah, and Israel.
And of course Israel. Yeah.
so higher progressive taxes, and you want healthcare, and you want what was the third one?
Climate change. Climate change to be significantly
I think
addressed as a radical
That you have
idea.
to ask yourself, okay, which can I be more effective in implementing policy that would get me closer to those goals? Should it
For
be
those
the
three,
Democratic Party?
unironically, the
or-
DSA, because those people have more radical positions on those three. But despite that, I won't join the DSA because I don't support like what you said, the more radical ideas enough to want to join and associate myself with them. But again, like you're asking,
Do you think it's possible within the Democratic Party to get better health care for Americans?
is it possible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do
Will
you think
will
it's
they go
possible
far
within
enough?
the Democratic Party
I don't believe they're
to
taking enough strides
combat
right now.
climate
And I
change?
think
It's impossible.
No.
It's not even
Not
possible. What a
significantly.
ridiculous! It's the same shell game of absolute necessity, strict necessity, and you're saying, well, it's if someone concludes that it's possible to go with the Democratic Party, then that's what they should go
the
with.
second question, the follow-up to that is which is more likely to happen within the Democratic Party or the
climate
Or
change?
DSA?
both, right?
Probably
Or
like,
both.
here's the thing.
Or both.
I would
right?
join, like, think about it this way, Wick. I would join the DSA to try to organize for a candidate that I thought had a radical policy platform on climate change because I thought they were going to push the conversation in such a way that would be more where I'm aligned. I don't think Democrats are anywhere fucking close to what I want done on climate change. It's tax credits. It's, let's do clean energy in 10, 15 years. I think we're all going to fucking die. We're going to have millions of climate refugees, and we need to be doing this 20 years ago, right? So if I thought I could do that through the DSA, I would, because the Democrats are not doing it the way I want to. However, I wouldn't join the DSA to do the prison abolition candidate
Yeah,
if
you
that
don't
was
have
their
to join the
primary
Well,
goal.
like,
Right.
can I just
so
say
what
really
I'm
quickly,
saying is,
because, like, this-
no, wait, hold on. Let me finish.
Yeah,
So
sorry.
the
Yeah, go ahead.
instrumentation, the way that you could do this is the fact that they have that canvassing platform. They have a group of like-minded people that are going to go for that candidate that I might want. And that might be why I want to donate to the DSA. It might be why I would want to work with them there. And other candidates I might not want to do that with. But I know the Democrats don't have the apparatus for those kind of candidates because they're going to support the less radical ones. So that might be a good reason to join is, hey, here's the more radical candidate that the DSA is backing, and they have an infrastructure to do
Well,
it,
then
whether it's
but
local,
then my
whether it's
question
national.
to you would be, do you think it is worth backing someone in the DSA who also shares those radical positions that you say would make you never join? And that's a calculation that I think that you should, again, side on the Democratic
In
side.
a general or in a
because
primary?
when we talk about things like the Constitution, you understand that the DSA's stated goal is to rewrite the Constitution, to destroy it.
Aspects of it, yes.
Destroy the
But no,
Yeah,
but
to
not destroy
it.
I
They want
haven't
to
heard.
get rid
I
of the
haven't heard
executive
destroy.
branch. They want to get rid of the
So
courts.
yeah. So I
They
don't
wanna put
agree.
it as
Let me
subservient
respond to
into-
you,
into
Wick. I know
Congress.
what you're referencing. I'm obviously not committed to those portions of their agenda. Part of the reason why
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
it's
that's
stupid.
worse.
Part of the reason
than
why I
just
think it's
being kind of mid on climate change.
yeah.
That's my
So like
argument.
so okay. You can take that view that it's kind of mid, but of course the question isn't.
Well, you agree with me
but-
though, right?
So as between constitutional protection and climate change protection, I think in the immediate term, constitutional protection is more important. I'll just give you that. But that's of course not Soy Pill's the question that you presented to Soy Pill. Soy Pill is not being asked to like opine on like the overall platforms between base lib and a radical lib and DSA. My guess is Soy Pill would more align with the base lib and the radical lib than he would with the DSA member. The question is there some utility perhaps in having some influence with these people, such that someone like Dylan Burns or someone who maybe is more amenable to their policy agenda should get involved with them? And I just don't see a
I think
reason
any
that we should be like
utility would
one
be-
prescription.
again, any utility is just better use. Any resources you spend building that utility or achieving that utility is just better used in the Democratic
On
Party
what?
or other liberal
On,
organization.
but no,
It's
but
just
those,
better. It's
but they're
more
different.
effective.
They're different
You
types
get
of
more for your
organizations.
buck, more bang for your buck. You
The
heard that
Democratic
expression
Party is like a
before?
gestalt
you get
of
more
different.
bang for your buck within the Democratic
so
Party.
so
than
so
you do
just
within
just
the
real
other.
quick, the Democratic Party isn't
That's
like
fine
a
to say with the
single
DSA,
thing,
it's
right?
like bang.
The Democratic Party is like a set of formal
Hold on,
institutions.
and yet they're
it's
still
like a
beating
vague
MAGA's ass
thing.
and beating the DSA
I'm not.
as well.
No one
Crazy,
is saying.
huh?
Wait. You're so virtue signaling. This is crazy. Address
What
what,
do
I'm
you
saying.
mean?
So
I'm
what
talking to-
I'm
there are
saying,
three
I'm
of
not
you.
shit
Each of you
talking the
have three
Democratic
different
Party.
points.
Hey,
I
I'm the one.
addressed
I'm
one.
endorsing
You
every
say, "Oh, you
Democratic
didn't say
candidate.
that."
He
You're
doesn't
the one
want
who
to
said.
Okay. I can't hear you both at the same time.
So
I
Wick is.
I want Pisco to quickly finish.
Yep.
Like 10, 15 seconds if you can. And I want to get Tom in here because
Oh, he can.
Tom's in to ask like a few questions, but I don't want to keep him. I want to make sure that he can say what he wants to say and get out of here and get back to his. What game is he playing? What game? This is really important that I know. What game is it?
Right.
Factorio, of course.
Cool.
Actor, yeah.
So Wick is doing this thing like, well, you better put your energy towards the Democratic Party versus DSA, as though they're like the same kind of organization. The Democratic Party is not an organization as such. It's like a vague thing of formal institutions, different candidates, people who like loosely align on ideology. It's not like an organization qua organization, right? So they're just not comparable. It'd be saying like, should I join the DSA or eat an apple, right? Should I join the DSA or like, what does it mean to join the Democratic Party other than register that way?
Organization that has, again, a lot of infrastructure, get out the vote apparatus. It has a ton of infrastructure in states. The DNC
it's not an organization qua organization. The Democratic, what does it mean to be a
party? It's an organization.
There's the DNC, there's the DCCC, there's a bunch of like committees and formal structures. There's the politicians, right?
Again, which work as an organization within the Democratic Party.
It's not a singular thing, right? It's a gestalt. It's like a vague collection of things. No, when you say apparatus, it's implying some kind of like structure
a collection of
that
different
is
organizations.
Okay.
But again,
You're not
colloquially,
listening,
it's
dude.
an organization.
No, okay, so then who's the head of the Democratic Party?
The DSA.
Who's the Democratic Party? Head of the Democratic Party. Who is it? Is it Ken Martin?
Head of the Democratic Party?
Yes.
I think right now it's probably Chuck Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries.
Wait, why? They're
Because
the Senate
they're the ones
minority
in
leader
positions of power in the. I think they're the minority leadership in the House and the Senate.
So because they're high ranking in
Hold on.
Congress,
You
they're the
do
leaders
disagree
of the
with
I do
that.
disagree
You
with that.
disagree that they are the titular heads of the party. Right?
Yeah, I do disagree with that. I don't even know what it would mean to be the head of the Democratic Party. The problem is, right?
To be responsible for implementing legislation, to be responsible for implementing and deciding where funds go and where our support goes. They're the people that people listen to.
So
when
Schumer
they
decides
say,
that.
Hey, the DNC
Schumer
is going
decides
to back
that.
this candidate. This is why a lot of the DSA types are mad at Chuck Schumer, because Chuck Schumer is backing candidates.
So Chuck Schumer is deciding what the DNC supports.
He's able to do
Chuck
that
Schumer is deciding who the DNC supports.
Head of the party right now.
So Chuck Schumer is deciding who the DNC supports in elections and primary contests. You know, the DNC isn't like supposed to put their thumb on the scale necessarily.
Yes.
Okay, but like you understand, right? The Democratic Party is like it's an abstract thing, which is it's not like the Chamber of Commerce. It's not like the NRA. It's not like the DSA, right? You get me?
It's structured differently, yes, but it is still an organization with titular heads.
You're lost, bro.
That have sometimes in-faction fighting, but they have leaders, influencers, gatekeepers, auditors. They have infrastructure. All these things are, again, fall under the umbrella of the Democratic Party. Why are you fighting me on this? This is just true.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're lost. Like it's not like the DSA in that sense,
Okay,
and saying you should just join the
Democratic.
saying what would it? Wait, no. Last thing. I promise. How would I go about joining the Democratic Party? Tell me the process by which I join the Democratic Party right now.
To join the Democratic Party, you have to register with your state.
Oh, so all it means to join the Democratic Party is to register as a Democrat, correct?
Yes, but being a good member is different.
That's the WIC standard, of course.
Saying I'm registered as a Democrat.
Oh, so it sounds like just being a Democrat is like calling yourself a Democrat, and that's your own definition.
No, I don't think that someone just calling themselves a Democrat is enough to make.
So what else defines? So what else defines you as a Democrat?
Wait, Pisco. Can we like cut the weird rhetoric game? All you need to say is WIC. What is the equivalent of DSA organizing on a local level that you could do the Democratic Party? Because the Democratic Party, as Pisco is describing, is a big thing that means your ideology, it means how you vote. But is there a Democrat, Young Democrats? Is there a DNC organization that you could join locally? So like, I want to put my money and my time in my canvassing.
Democrats.
There's college Democrats, right? Well, I know you know that.
Should they be supported, WIC? Should they be supported?
Would you know about that? Would you know about that if it didn't involve Hassan? Like, what is the alternative that you are proposing?
Knowing or not knowing about the existence of an organization does not mean the organization does or does not exist.
But surely, if you're telling someone not to join the DSA,
I can't name every single organization that falls under the umbrella of the Democratic Party.
It's not even that. You can't name a single one, right?
Infrastructure. I can't do that, but I know they exist.
And by the way, would you advocate people join the College Democrats of America right now? Yes or no?
Right now, no, because I think it's
So what are they supposed to join actually? So what is it actually they should join?
Other organizations.
Oh, what are they, WIC?
Can I
I don't know them off the top of my head, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. What is this weirdness?
Let me throw a few organizations out before we throw it over to Tom. Would it be something like a local Democratic Central Committee, a local Democratic Party club, that people would join when they have
I
representatives
don't know
come
the
by
names
represent
specifically,
themselves.
but
They
there are
organize a candidate, something like
there
that.
definitely exists local infrastructure that you can participate in. And if you do go, like your local council, your
Like the
local
DSA?
government, most of the people there are pretty old. Okay, they're like fucking 60, 70, 80, right? But they exist
What about the
and they're out
DSA
there
though?
doing the work.
We're young and hot and doing big shit. What about the DSA?
The DSA are busy destroying America. They're
Oh my
saying we need
God.
to
Yeah,
abolish
right.
capitalism and let the rapists out.
That's
Let's
what they
go.
say,
Let's go
man.
from that over to Tom Foolery, who showed some interest in coming on here and expressing some of his thoughts. So, Tom, do you have any questions you wanted to throw at the panel before I go through my list of questions? Since we've gone through much of the ringer now.
Yeah. So I'll start off by saying that I do agree that like the DNC being a Democrat is not like a group of values. Obviously, the party switch is an obvious example of the fact that the parties change based on what's going on at the time, and if Republicans take on some policy positions, the Democrats have to take on other policy positions to get back to some sort of 50-50 hold over the population. The DSA, though, is a values-based organization, which requires agreement to those values. And if you look on their website, I agree that like the platform that they put out, which talks about, abolishing the Senate and crap like that. Obviously, not everybody agrees with that. We heard all the candidates be pretty clear that they don't all agree with that. But on the website, under Constitution and bylaws, it literally says under Article 3 for members that members shall be open to every person who subscribes to the principles of the organization. And under bylaws, it says for membership, applicants for membership in the organization shall agree with the principles of the organization and pay dues. Those are the only two requirements. So if you were thinking about joining within the Constitution, it says that their purpose is says we are socialists because we reject an economic order based on private profit and alienated labor, which means that they want the workers owned to the means of production, obviously. And then it also says we are socialists because we share a vision of humane social order based on popular control of resources and production, economic planning, and equitable distribution. So those are like obvious socialist, very like plain socialist ideals that if you don't agree
They're
with those,
socialist. Is that
that
not
is their
obvious? They're
purpose.
the
Yes, well,
Democratic
of the
Socialist
organization.
of
It's
America.
a socialist organization.
Yeah. What is the big own
Correct.
here?
Well, so hold on. First off, Pisco, you've literally argued with me twice. I've seen you argue with tons of people saying that maybe they mean something different by socialist. It doesn't mean that they're actual socialists.
So that's in a different.
Maybe they mean
Wait,
something
that's in a
totally
different.
different.
Out of all the
Wait,
debates
that's in
that
a
I've seen
different
of people
context.
talking about this, I haven't seen a single
No,
person define
hold-
socialism
this-
coherently at all. But
Yeah. By the way, that's
The
also my
statement
impression.
was
That's
that
also
if
my impression.
you don't agree with the ideals of it, and the
No.
purpose.
So
of
Tom,
the
wait. Tom, you made a
organization, which is
specific
very different
accusation.
from the
You made a
DNC.
specific
Right,
accusation.
let
I'm
me.
not-
I want to hear the end of Tom's question again,
Okay.
so it's clear, because I don't think it's particularly clear what the question attached to it was.
I was saying that if you don't agree with the principles and the goal of the actual organization, why would you join the organization
to
instead
moderate
of
it.
just
If
supporting
that's
the candidates
Dylan,
that you like outside of the
Because
Dylan just gave you an
Tom,
example.
You're aware that plenty of people join this organization who believe socialism is like, well, I'm sure you've heard Pisco bring this up. They believe socialism is Nordic model, and they join because they're like, here's a bunch of cool young people organizing, and like they don't read the fucking Constitution. They're like, oh, it means that I had to read the terms and
You're not
services
even
when I
forced
signed
to-
up,
you're
and I
not
have
even
to agree with
agreed
all
with
of
Like your
them. They're also
iTunes
kicking
terms
me
and
out.
conditions.
Like, yeah, it's not necessary that you're like a literal, I want to abolish capitalism socialist to join it. Although I would assume that most of the people in there probably want that, and it's not
well,
necessary. For you to-
the thing is that most of the people
Sure,
in
but the people
DSA
here
are
know
probably,
though. The people here know that though. So if the people here know that, why
don't
would
think the
they
people
join
here
an
know what
organization
socialism
where they
is.
disagree with the purpose?
Dylan just gave you a reason, right?
They know,
So
they know the purpose.
Dylan just gave you a potential
Sorry.
reason. I wouldn't, but Dylan said potentially so that he can try to change from within their strategy on Ukraine. That would be a motivating reason for him, notwithstanding, I don't know, his position on whatever socialist ideal that is being espoused in the principles that you're referencing.
And also just look at the look at all these different caucuses and the like socialism is not this just like one Marxist, Leninist type tanky shit or whatever the fuck. Socialism is a really, really vague term that's been around for a really, really long time, but prior to Marx or anything like that, it just has to do with the composition of who is in charge of the management and operation of the means of production in a general sense. Like socialism does not mean that like you have this centralization of power. Socialism can literally just mean a more democracy within the economic sphere. That's literally it. Like socialism has always been.
I'm not understanding why you're saying I just read. Wait, I just read.
Let me hear the
I
last.
just read. Hold on,
Jordy.
wait.
I want to let him finish his
That's
philosophy.
that's the most. Hold on, I just want to make this clear. That's the most.
No, I'm sorry, you don't want to hear it.
Socialism I've heard in my
Before
fucking
somebody
life.
follows another sentence, please. I would really appreciate it. Jordy, last
Yes.
sentence, please.
Yeah, socialism is a really, really vague term, and if you look at any of these different caucuses, each one is going to give you a different interpretation of what they think is socialist and what they think ought to happen in the economic sphere. Most people in DSA are like social democrats. Most people in DSA are like very vaguely socialist, like not like Marxist Leninists. Marxist Leninists are like a
I agree
minority.
with that. But that I don't know why you're saying that when I literally just read. They literally say the statement, "We are socialists because," and then the statement that they want to end alienated labor. They want to have the public in charge of production. They like I just read. So we don't have this like vague conception of why they call themselves socialists. So what was the
but
I'm making it clear because
you're
every
not
single
addressing
person
what
I've
Jordy
considered,
just said,
including
which
you,
is
The reason
including
he's
you.
doing this is to avoid
definitions of
answering
this.
any
No, I
direct
can tell you the
questions.
reason why I'm
No,
doing it, you dumb fuck.
Just to be clear,
I can tell you the
he-
reason why
he
I'm doing it, you
refuses
dumb
to
fuck.
engage directly
No,
with
I
any
can
of these
literally
issues.
tell
He
you the
knows
reason
that
why
he
I'm doing
does.
it is because every single person. Wick, what is socialism?
What is socialism? You tell me.
I asked you.
You're the one saying it's
But
a
your
ridiculous.
definition was. Your
This is Andrew
definition
Wilson
was.
shit.
What is
Tell me the
You're the one
charges. Why don't you
advocating
tell
for
me the
this,
charges?
but your definition was
I
socialism.
wanted to hear the answer on
is
why
when
you were
want
saying
more
that.
democracy in capitalism, and I reject that definition. So
In the
In
market,
virtue
is
of
a
what
market
do you
necessarily
reject it?
capital?
You reject it because it's like
You don't know
not-
what socialism is.
Yeah, well, why do you
do
reject
you know
it?
what?
Why'd you
Again,
give me the
me the
definition you
definition of
reject?
socialism. you
Okay,
have.
you're asking more questions. You said that you reject whatever
Yes, I
Dorian
am.
just
I
said.
wanna know
And
what he
on
thinks
what basis
socialism
do you reject it? You reject something. Why do you
Yeah,
reject
so
it?
I'd like to hear
You're the one
Jordy answer
advocating
why,
it.
why.
What is it that you're doing?
You have nothing. You
Because,
have nothing.
again,
You gotta be able to
socialism, I
define
feel,
it.
is in opposition.
I would like to hear
mostly
Jordy's answer
capitalism.
to it.
And I think that capitalism has been the most successful material ideology for the world.
You're just the
out of
perfect
any
lib,
other
Wick.
ideology.
Wick,
don't know
you're
what
such a
capitalism is
perfect
either.
pure
Wow, that's
lib.
beautiful. Yeah,
Yes,
you don't
I
know
am
what
a liberal.
capitalism is either.
That's
You don't know what
true. I
socialism
am
or
a
Yeah.
capitalism
No,
is.
I'm just
You
saying
literally
it's
just
very.
divergence to it.
Why are you saying I think capitalism is the most beautiful thing that God created? Adam Smith, I fucking jerk off to him.
Not
Why are you
God
doing
didn't
that
create
shit instead of addressing what Jordy said? You're just like taking this time
Because
to
Jordy hasn't
just
said
do a
anything.
monologue
He
about
hasn't
how
said
you're so
anything.
amazing.
There's nothing to chew on there.
Well,
He's
Hold
then
on,
let's
can I
give
get-
Jordy an
can I hear
opportunity.
Jordy's
Let's
answer
give
to the question?
Jordy
I
more-
want to hear
let's
Jordy's
give-
answer to the question.
Let's
Can-
give
can I
Jordy
get
an
Jordy's
opportunity
answer to
to
the
answer the
question?
question. Then, if he hasn't said
What is-
anything,
what
then he
is
should be able to
socialism?
define
Be
it.
specific.
The thing that we call
Jordan?
capitalism, on the one hand, is the disproportionate ownership and operation of the means of production by private entities. Right? That's the thing that we're calling capitalism. It's a very, very vague term in and of its own right. Socialism is where there's a disproportionate amount of democratic ownership and operation of the means of production, whether that be through democracy, whether it be through if these are social programs or if they're whatever. It's a really, really general term that just appeals to democracy in economy. That's it.
So the DSA
It's not even
calls
saying
for-
I
all
wanted
of
to-
economy is
I wanted to
operated
hear you
through
answer why you
the
were
central
responding.
planning or whatever the fuck. It's
Let me
just
finish.
He
democracy.
didn't answer.
So
Hold
the
on.
DSA
He
calls for
You
public
didn't
ownership
let
of
him answer
America's
my
largest
question, though. You've
corporations.
got
Which corporations?
Yes,
I'm
that
sorry,
was
I was
my
asking two different
question at all.
questions. What's your question now, Tom?
Yes, my question before was I was asking why was that your response when I just read like exactly what they meant by socialism, and then you said like that socialism could mean a bunch of different things, but I'm saying
People
they
can
literally
interpret it
told us what
differently.
they
That's
meant
what
by
his response was.
Because
People can
socialism
interpret it
means-
differently.
Tom, you're
What
confusing
generally
the
get that
national
wrong.
DSA platform with the fact that there's a bunch of smaller DSA orgs that all fucking fight each other constantly on what it means to be a socialist, and plenty of people.
It's
can
literally
join
for
these and have
somebody to
different
No,
join
listen,
a
definitions.
charter.
let me
That's what
answer
we're
because the
talking
thing
about.
that you
We're
read,
talking
the
about
thing
the
that you
goal.
read
like,
is
this is
the
like-
alienation.
Tom, I ask, go and join any DSA, your local DSA, just as like a meme, and you'll know that they don't fucking like make you read this out and put your hand on the Bible.
That's not
They
what I
don't make you
said.
read
Well,
the
even
thing.
besides
say
that, just
I
let me
didn't
answer
say
Tom.
that.
Just let me answer
Hey,
Tom.
I didn't
Tom,
say
Just let me
that.
answer Tom, or else
Tom,
his head's gonna pop, dude. You can see it start to fucking
Let's-
bulge out.
Okay, I got a follow-up question on this. I think this will help with this question. I've seen in DSA circles, and I've heard by talking to people in DSA that there have been disagreements about the question of candidate control. And what I mean by that statement, candidate control, is the idea that some candidates, while being card-carrying members of DSA and sometimes endorsed by DSA, have done things that have not been preferred by DSA national leadership, certain caucuses. Sometimes it's the majority of DSA members you might be able to disagree. Sometimes it's just the majority of caucus members, the ones who actually like represent what makes up the voting organizations in DSA. Either way, there seems to be a internal disagreement about whether or not DSA should assert itself to take its vision of its political agenda and more forcefully with these candidates, make sure that they apply to that when they go and run for office. So they would take their position on a foreign policy issue, or they would take their position on an economic issue. If we're talking about their definition of socialism or their position on Ukraine, if they were to develop more candidate control going on with current leadership, this could create, I think, divisions and problems in the future. Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do, and the DSA did too, because they recognized this problem. And what they did is they set out a criteria that people needed if they want an endorsement from DSA. These are a set of criteria that they have defined that you need to accomplish, and they write it out here, and I'll just read it out for you. Have a demonstrated history of leadership in their chapter, participation in DSA's internal life, and attending DSA events. Commit to uphold DSA's national policy platform and DSA's national priorities, campaigns, and initiatives. View themselves as socialist organizers first and legislators second, which is fucking wild. Openly and proudly identify with DSA and socialism, including by expressly encouraging people to join DSA, identifying publicly as a socialist or democratic socialist, aligning their branding, messaging, and or color scheme with DSA, commit to grow their DSA chapter and develop DSA leadership through their campaign, demonstrate interest in receiving a national endorsement, and commit to caucusing with fellow elected DSA endorsees and socialists in office committees where applicable. That is
they get an endorsement from national DSA. Yeah, not endorsement from DSA in general.
That is their criteria.
What's the so what to that, Wick?
Or
What's the so what?
National, yeah, but you can be endorsed by the local chapter.
National endorsement.
Yes, but if we're talking about the nationals.
Yeah, so who gives a fuck?
People who are thinking of whether or not they
shut up.
Join
all right, the thing that I just like really,
it's
really
the majority
quickly,
of the candidates just by the national.
Really quickly for Tom, because I don't want to like just leave the loose end. The thing that I'm getting at is that the definition that you gave from DSA is completely within the definition that I gave here. It's just that when you say these things, people have all of these like crazy ideas for what it would actually mean to end alienation and stuff like that. It's just all it is that increased democratic participation.
It's like the Bible, right? You have one Bible verse.
That means nothing. That means nothing.
It's like the Bible.
No, because you're fucking bitch. You're a dumb bitch. That's why it means nothing to you.
So to explain what he's saying, no, he didn't. Wait. Why don't you be a good faith?
This is the definition used throughout all of history. You dumb fuck.
Why don't you be a little bit good faith?
Why don't you be a little good faith?
Because you're dumb. Because you're dumb.
Why don't you be a little good faith?
Because you don't know what socialism means.
Wick. Why don't you be a little good faith?
You literally can't tell me.
And you didn't. Yeah, you didn't offer one either.
Hold on. Do you think that
Give me the definition of socialism. What does socialism mean?
Why would I get
wrong?
You saying he's wrong. You're saying he's wrong. Wick, you're saying you're saying he's wrong. You're saying he's wrong.
The answer that socialism is when there's more democracy.
You're saying he's wrong, so provide the definition that it's not in accord with.
Socialism is when you have public control of companies, means of production, these things.
Oh.
So, for example, like the DSA says, and the national
it's like what
DSA
I said.
agrees
You mean
with
in
me,
general? Or
they
do you mean
want
like all
their position, their
his
public
definition.
policy position is public ownership of America's largest corporations. So I'm going to ask you, which corporations should the government...
Wait, this is atopical. This is atopical. Wait. This is so desperate. So look at what Wick just did. Wick just did something very sneaky, and I saw exactly what he did. It was this is how sneaky Wick is. So this is a conversation about what socialism is.
Yes.
So no. So what I can break down exactly what just happened.
Let me hear about Wick's sneakiness, and then we can have Sneaky Wick respond to.
Correct. So Tom said, Tom raised a concern. He said, look, this charter says they have to commit themselves to these principles. And what Jordy said in response was, well, it seems like these principles are up to the interpretation of people. And based on my experience, they interpret it kind of differently. And this is kind of like a vague notion of what socialism is, but people have different interpretations of it. Wick responds and says, wait, that's not true socialism. He provides a definition of socialism that is like very similar to what Jordy said. And then instead of reconciling with the fact that he totally failed, then instead of reconciling the fact that he totally failed, wait, let me finish your sneakiness. You can respond. You both said public ownership of the means of production was a core part of what you just said. That's what that is. Yes. Wait, let me finish. You can respond. Wait. I'm almost at the sneakiness part, right? When it became evident that the definitions in material sense were at least largely overlapped, and it wasn't clear why we should accept one or the other, Wick, instead of reconciling with that, he brought in some other policy issue to talk about, to virtue signal about. That's exactly what the fuck just happened.
But they don't overlap. They don't overlap because it literally starts off by saying that they reject private profit, and then also says popular control of production, and also against alienated labor.
Same response from Jordy. Same response from Jordy.
It's not just the same thing. It's not. You're saying it's just a little bit less private profit. Not that they're against it, but they just want.
No. His response to you, Tom, and you're not getting it. So why don't you listen for a second? His response was, people are going to interpret that differently. So people are going to interpret that. So people are going to. So you're not listening. You're not listening to Jordy's response to that. You're like, look at all this horrible. You're not listening. You're not listening. So this is how I know you're not listening, because Jordy's response on that is, listen, interpreting that statement, you can get a bunch of different people telling you a bunch of different bullshit. And it could be AOC talking some bullshit. It could be Tankies talking some bullshit. It could be someone in between talking some bullshit. And why do you disagree with that? So what's your basis for disagreement there?
You don't listen, bro. You don't listen. What the fuck?
You don't listen. Why don't you listen?
Why don't you listen, Pisco? Why won't you?
You're literally talking
over
him the whole time.
You won't listen. Okay, I literally said, they said that we
Artwork
reject
counter,
private
profit.
profit.
I think
That the rejection of private profit does not mean just a little bit less private profit. It means the rejection of private profit.
That's consistent. Is that consistent with AOC? Is that consistent with AOC? Is that consistent with AOC? Is that consistent with AOC and Bernie? Is that consistent with them? So are those views? So for example, AOC is a member of the DSA, correct?
Hold on.
Is she a member of the DSA?
Last week, did she renew her membership?
No, but but she currently is, right?
Seems to be the current charter, right?
So she currently is, right? So is she in line with the current charter?
Wait, when you say the charter, you're talking about the bylaws?
The bylaws that you're reading, whatever this is.
Yeah.
She's in line with it, right?
No. What do you mean in line with it? Like
is she upholding? Yeah, is she upholding this part that you say is a necessary precondition to be a DSA person?
No, I don't think she's fighting against.
And yet she has the endorsement. And yet she has the endorsement, right?
She was announced as
her charter.
And yet she's a DSA candidate, right? So how can that be, Tom? You must be wrong,
with all
right?
This at the beginning, you don't listen. You don't listen. I said all this.
So you must be wrong, right, Tom?
You don't listen, Pisco. You don't fucking listen. Wrong about what, Pisco? What am I wrong about?
Yeah, I'll tell you why. You said this.
What am I wrong about?
You said this is necessary to be a part of the DSA as I've interpreted, and AOC is not in line with this, and yet she's a member. And so your conclusion that this is the terms
I didn't say that they had to be part.
Oh.
I didn't say that
so what are you saying?
them agree to these things.
So why are you reading it?
I literally said at the fucking beginning, you don't listen, Pisco.
Why are you reading
Why
it,
don't
Tom?
you just fucking listen? Why don't you stop?
So what's your issue?
Just listen, Pisco.
So what's your issue?
What's your issue, bro? Tom, then what's your issue with the things that you're reading, these bylaws?
Cooked.
As I said from the beginning,
wasted.
The reason that I just read it, but to him, is because he was saying that you could interpret it in all these different ways. I'm saying, no, you can't. It literally says the rejection of.
But how is that? How is that any? How can you square the circle of that? And
he said it would be just a little bit less.
By them.
Why are you pivoting? Don't stop pivoting.
That's not a pivot. You're saying
we're not talking about whether or not they can be members.
You're saying
we're not talking about whether or not they can be members.
AOC is interpreting this in a different way, right?
Which one are we talking about? Are we talking about whether or not they can be members according to these, or are we talking about whether or not they can interpret these terms differently? Which one are we talking about?
Well, clearly both are possible, right? These members are not upholding these bylaws.
I'm saying you cannot. I'm not saying that they have to.
Okay, so what are you saying
As
then?
I said that
I
from
gotta use a
Then what's
reference.
the
to that
fear?
part
So
of
what's
all of you.
so what's this big fear? Like, oh, I found
the
a part
problem?
of a contract that no one gives a fuck about, and apparently the candidates don't care either.
holy shit.
What's the problem? What's the issue?
I literally said from the fucking beginning. I literally said
You brought up
Jordy said
something
Please
you
that
help
doesn't
us.
matter.
these things differently. I will repeat it again. Jordy said you can interpret these things differently. I'm saying, no, you can't. The rejection
you not
of is
interpret
not
it
just a
differently?
little bit less.
Okay.
The rejection of is not a little bit less. Tell me the
On your
rejection of is a little
interpretation,
bit less.
How-
assuming
wait,
your interpretation
No,
is
no, no,
correct.
no, 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 yes or no? No, 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 yes
No,
or
no.
no? Yes or no? Is the rejection of a little bit less? Yes or no? Yes or
I don't.
no?
So
I
what's
don't
the
think that those
prescription? What do you think
sentences.
the
I don't
prescription is
believe
here?
that those. To
Right,
answer
you're
your
not gonna
question.
answer. You're
To
not gonna
answer your
answer.
question.
You're gonna
To
keep
answer
pivoting.
No,
your
You're gonna
question.
keep
I'm
pivoting.
I
literally
don't.
answering. I'm literally answering. Bro, your little brain's gonna pop, dude. Take a
You want
breath.
me to
Take a
answer?
breath.
I'm making fun
The
of
point
Pisco.
is, regardless
I'm just making
of
fun of
let's say the-
Pisco.
Oh
let's say
yeah,
the language
spite.
was, like,
Yeah, that's what I got.
completely- No, let's say the language completely unambiguous. It's just that if you join us, you have to reject the American like economic system as it currently stands in the year 2026. And then there's a bunch of members who don't do that. What would it matter that is in their bylaw? Or in
Oh my
their-
goodness. Are you going to keep pivot? How many times do you want me to say this? I'll say it 10 times right now if that'll make you stop.
Do it
asking
10
the same
times.
question.
Yes.
I'm not saying
30
they
will be
have
enough.
to agree to
30 will be
these in order to be a member. I'm not saying they have
Who
to agree to
cares?
these in order to be a member.
So
I'm
why
not
does
saying
it
they have to
matter?
agree to these in order to be a member. Wait.
So why
how
does
many
it
times do you want
matter?
me to answer this? You just
why
asked me
does it
that. Can you
matter?
repeat the answer I gave you the last time you
You
asked me
said
this?
you don't have
Repeat
to
the
agree
answer
to
I gave.
them to be a member.
Repeat
right?
the answer I gave you last time you asked me
You
why it
don't-
matters. Repeat the
Why
answer
does it
that I gave
matter?
to you the last two
You
times.
Why does
said,
it
you
matter?
Oh, because Jordy
Repeat
said
the
you
answer.
could interpret these differently, and then that's what these members
Yes.
are doing. They're like, well, I don't necessarily either have read this, or if I have read it, I don't think that's what socialism means, and that's not what I agree
or
with.
they
So
haven't
who
read it.
cares?
Yes, or they haven't read
So
it.
who cares? So
Wait,
why are you
Yeah,
bringing
or-
it up?
why are you
you
bringing
come
it
up
up?
with an interpretation where you have to like
Can we
wholesale
build
negative
a-
the
let's-
Okay,
entire
let's build
okay,
concept of
I
that.
said,
That-
I,
Zach,
that-
I,
have you
I
been
literally
having
said
the
from the very
idea
beginning.
the idea
Have
is
you
that
fun
like
feasting on
somebody
these guys,
else
Tom? Are you enjoying
owning
it?
Let's
your labor, the idea of somebody else owning your labor being alienating just by definition, the idea that owning that as a socialist is insane to you.
No, I agree that that's what I'm saying. I
Oh,
said
okay.
if
So it's literally
if
just
you
saying to
disagree
be
with
part of
these-
the democratic socialist, you have to be a socialist.
Yes,
Then what's the
See?
problem?
What's the problem? They're socialists. Yes.
What do you mean? What's the problem?
They're socialists.
That's like I holy shit. How many oh holy shit. You guys are actually fucking retarded. This is why you
Yeah.
guys this
It's
is why
so
you guys
crazy.
having so many
It's
problems
so
with
crazy.
this. Holy shit, you guys are
Right.
fucking retarded. Okay. So as I
Ten.
said, I will keep fucking repeating the same fucking shit over and over. If you
Maybe they'll
disagree
stick
with
this
the
time.
goals of the actual fucking platform, why the fuck would you pay dues to help them achieve goals that you actually disagree with just to change one little thing when the
There's some
major
answers.
things that they
Yeah,
want,
there's some
you
answers.
don't fucking agree
So,
with?
here's some answers. So answer number one, you
Oh,
interpret
we get to answers now.
Yeah.
Wow, this is-
Answer number
moving. We're
one,
moving
someone
forward.
might.
Let's go.
Okay, the answer number one, someone might join the DSA, notwithstanding the divergence here, because they interpret what you just read differently. Answer number two, because notwithstanding significant disagreement, there's sufficient alignment and a motivation to change the aspects that are worst, such that or participation is in the
Jordy
good.
just agreed that they don't interpret it differently. He
No,
just agreed
What?
that
I'm
makes them
I'm
a socialist, that
giving-
they don't want
The exact
alienated
opposite,
labor, that they
actually.
reject these
So
things.
so
Like, he
I'm
just
giving you
agreed that. So it
I'm
makes
giving
them
you
a socialist,
motivations.
like it's
I'm
not
giving you
smack them.
I'm giving you motivations for
No, you
why.
agreed to
Yeah, you did. He said basically, if you interpret it your way, you're just saying socialists
that
are
was my
socialists.
point.
Okay, fine.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
That was
okay,
my
they're
point.
socialists. We
You
agree.
guys are saying,
So you
oh,
asked-
they could interpret it differently. They could just be
Hey,
regular
Tom,
sock
hey,
dems.
Tom,
They could
Tom,
just be
Tom,
regular sock
Tom.
dems, guys. They just
can
could
be.
be
Tom,
regular
Tom.
sock
Bro,
dems.
you
So
gotta chill the fuck out, bro.
you're asking the question. You're asking basically, why would someone who's not a socialist join a socialist party? Right? You're basically asking that. Yeah.
Yes, obviously,
Okay.
yes.
One
thank you
reason-
for simplifying it for a 5-year-old.
Okay. Well, you could have just led with that. And one reason might be because
I did. I literally did.
Okay.
We're
Bro,
gonna
shut the
play
fuck
this
up,
back.
but you
But I
wanted to answer.
literally
You
did.
keep
Yeah,
saying you
that's
wanted to
literally
answer,
what I
and then you
led
start
with.
So one
screaming when he starts
reason-
talking. Shut the fuck
I don't
up.
want him to answer. I didn't ask him
Shut
anyway.
up,
He's
bro.
just jumping it. But he,
oh, so
he
you
can go
so
with
you
it.
don't so you don't want me to answer that question?
I asked Jordy a question, and
Okay.
then I asked Soypill a question. But each time I ask anybody a question, you jump in anyway. So go ahead.
All right, I'll just answer it. Then they can
What do you wanna
answer.
ask me,
Yeah,
bro?
okay.
What the fuck?
So the reason why someone who's not a socialist, on your view, of what socialism is because they might have a different view of what socialism is, and they might find no contradiction. So that's one reason. And in other words, the aligned or sort of specified ideology, at least as their interpretation is, isn't at odds with what they believe. Say, for example, the labor movements in various different countries, which have called themselves socialists. So that's one explanation. Another is, notwithstanding being not a socialist, they might think that there's some utilitarian aim to be gained by joining the organization. As the example given by Dylan at the top of this call was, maybe I should join the DSA, and he's considering it to move them on foreign policy issues and to make them less cringe. That might be another motivating reason to do it. A third might be because you're kind of cynical and you want their organizational help, and so you join even though you don't believe with their ideals, because you just want the organizational help. Those are all three perfectly understandable, motivating reasons that explain
might I
that.
suggest Wick should join to destroy them from within.
From within,
them
yes,
and turn them into
yes.
a liberal
Correct.
organization.
Again,
yes.
I think that we can have more of an effect by helping destroy you
We
from
can't,
without.
But not the
subvert
college
Democratic
Democrats.
Party. They already agree with
better.
us, right?
It's easier for me just to kneel on your neck from without. It's easy.
Tom, did you have any thoughts on those answers?
Interesting choice of words.
The thing that I asked was that if you don't agree with the overall project, why would you join just to change small things that don't? If you're not in.
Oh, I didn't know Ukraine was a small thing now. Ukraine's a small thing now. Ukraine is a small thing. I want you to say it. Ukraine is a small thing.
It is. It is in terms of their overall platform. Yes, it is a small thing. In terms
It's not
of
to
their
Dylan.
overall
It's not to
platform,
Dylan. It's not to Dylan. It's not to
100%.
Dylan.
No, it's not to Dylan. It's not to Dylan. It's not to Dylan, but the fact that the idea that they're going to be the ones that actually make some sort of big change in this, when you don't even think that they're going to make some big changes in the Democrat Party.
Dylan has gotten
And
DSA candidates to change the Ukrainian position. He's literally done this. That's why I even bring it up.
Wait, okay, so he did that without joining the DSA. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, he did.
Wow.
And he might even be able to have more leeway by joining the DSA.
That actually gets to the question. This is one of the questions I wanted to ask, because there seemed to be a lot of back and forth over candidates like AOC and the organization, and the kind of tug and pull, because these organizations and these candidates don't have all the times flowery relationships. They want more from each other. AOC as a political actor wants more resources, and DSA as an ideologically based organization wants her to take positions and push policies that are in line with their agenda. And so when the areas they're aligned with, there's not going to be friction. But outside of that, there might be. AOC has a very good record voting-wise on Ukraine. Not everybody on the IC and not everybody in DSA leadership is going to be particularly thrilled about that. And so my question, I guess, would be, is do you think when you're someone like AOC or Mondami, you have the space to move DSA, or is DSA going to end up moving them? Or do they even have any interest in these organizations moving to begin with?
Yeah, well, I think when you look at the DSA membership, like most people that are joining because of people like Bernie Sanders, Mamdani, AOC, etc. And so they already have that power. They already have the power to move people. Just by virtue of the fact that most people that are joining are directly influenced by these people, right?
More
because
so
I
than
wonder, because if somebody says the DSA co-chair, Megan Romer, says this about Ukraine, obviously I disagree with that. But then if AOC and Mondami and many of the most popular DSA candidates or DSA aligned candidates are saying something else,
for example, that's another example. He's not
in a strange position, like PR wise.
Yeah.
If it's Romer in particular, I don't. Romer's fucking insane, dude. Romer's like Red Star Caucus, but I wouldn't have any faith in her. But when it comes to
Tom Wick, do you know what Red Star Caucus is?
The Red Star Caucus? I don't know the specific names. I know they have a Marxist-Leninist caucus.
Charter.
I know that they have one that's less Marxist-Leninist. I don't know the specific names of all the caucuses in there. I couldn't list them out.
The reason I ask is because I just want to further illustrate that there's a bunch of different factions that are constantly arguing with each other, and they don't all agree on the same things. And you can join and not be in favor of some of the things. You could join and be in favor of some of the others.
I would say that Red Star Caucus are basically like red fascists to me. I am not. I hate these people. And that is not a minority opinion either. Tons of people in DSA do not like people in Red Star Caucus or other caucuses.
This is another conversation, because when it comes to the caucus structure and changing, earlier, Jordy, there was a conversation of, well, the majority, I think you said that the majority of DSA members would support Ukraine, is something you said?
I think if you would poll them, yeah. And also that I said that the majority of members are not caucus members at all. And also, when it comes to caucus members, the tankies are.
What does support mean?
Well, I would just to follow up on the caucus number. I've had conversations with those in different caucuses, those who are pro-Ukraine, those on the edges and such, and the general consensus seems to be, now this is what I'm saying, people can take it at face value or not, that if there was a vote tomorrow in DSA or at the next committee when they have like the yearly meeting and they talk about what's going to actually be on the agenda, what's on the platform, if there was to be a vote on the idea that we should give support to Ukraine, we should not abandon them. The numbers that I've been given is that there might be like 25 to 30% of the vote, caucus-wise. That they will not be able to get a majority. And the question isn't even about would the majority of dues-paying members support Ukraine. It's that the caucuses themselves don't support Ukraine. And so there might be
I agree with that.
Caucus or some newer caucuses that do, but you probably would not be able to pass that from internally right now, any statement in support of Ukraine.
No, I mean you would have to be arguing with the caucuses, which is what they do all the time. And there's actually tons of it's all like published too. You can like read the arguments back and forth from these guys. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, most people are not caucus members. But when it comes to the caucus members, especially when it has people that are closer to like the MPC, for example, the caucus members that are part of the MPC, I would not imagine that that they would have sufficient like positions on Ukraine, probably because it's just the blanket, anti imperialist campus sort of influence, I guess.
Okay, I know this is a little bit of a I want to know what you mean by support Ukraine. Like when you say that if you pulled the DSA members on whether they would
not be giving a position of saying that that the DSA position from their perspective should be one that is in favor of the making any positive statement about what the military industrial complex should be aligned
military aid to
them.
What it means giving military aid to support Ukraine directly in their war effort.
Oh, I just told you I don't think that they would give any positive statements on what they think the military industrial complex should do. I don't think that they would give any affirmative position on that, even if they are in line with like they want Ukraine to win.
Yeah, well, that's disqualifying if they're not willing to do the bare minimum.
Disqualifying for you, but literally, you would rather vote for the like you're literally disqualified from giving a shit about them.
How hot air they want, it doesn't matter. They're not actually doing anything.
Well, that's interesting. Okay. So Wick, this is so funny, right? So for Wick, it's disqualifying on an issue. And listen, I will always support as a main issue of mine in the primary context Ukraine support. I think it's essential, and I think it's really important. But you just said it's disqualifying for you that they don't support Ukraine, and yet when Dylan Burns
specifically support Ukraine by advocating and approving weapon transfers, weapons.
So one thing to note is there's often this critique of certain people in other circles ideologically who say, "Oh, you're a one-party voter on Gaza. That's fucked up." Now you're advocating to be like a one issue voter on Ukraine. No, but you said that was sufficient. You said it's disqualifying. So it's just one little point to chew on. But even put that aside. Okay, granted, because I think it's a very important issue. I agree with you, Wick, on that. If that's a very important issue, and if the DSA are not going to be like destroyed, like they're not going to be destroyed, they're around, why would it not behoove this very important issue to have someone like Dylan Burns, if he feels there's enough ideological coherence, for him to go in there and try to change that position? What's so wrong with that if it's so important?
Because I think he could do more good elsewhere and putting his efforts elsewhere. And I think that any advocacy that he has will be weighed down by the other positions that the DSA holds that he will be tied to because he is a member of the DSA.
What do you mean on like Twitter posts? Like people would say like mean Twitter posts about him?
No,
what do you mean?
I think that when when he goes up to a politician and says, "Hey, I think you should take this position seriously," and they're like, "Oh, you're a DSA member? Isn't this the people who believe X, Y, and Z? I don't want to associate with someone who believes X, Y, and Z." Why do you think?
What is it, like 41% of like registered Democrats associate with like a democratic socialist? Like, and you're acting like it's like toxic. You can say that you think it should be more toxic, but it's not.
Do you think that 41% of Democrats are democratic socialists?
30% identify as
identify as democratic socialists. Yeah.
Identify as such.
Do you think that they are democratic socialists?
What do you mean are? What do you mean? Like, do you mean that there are like
41% of Democrats are democratic socialists?
I'm sorry, we define socialism.
They identify themselves. Wait, they identify themselves as such. So when you say they are that, wait, Wick.
No, you don't know what socialism is.
Chill. Hey, Wick, So when you say,
Chill, I'm answering his fucking
are they
question.
really? So
You're
are they
trying to
really?
interrupt.
You ask, are they really democratic socialists? Are you asking whether they identify as democratic socialists on your view, or something else? Like, what are you asking with respect to whether they're really democratic socialists?
Do they support policies that democratic socialists would advocate for?
Well, in
It's
virtue
circular,
of
because
AOC,
they
yeah,
think they're
it's circular.
democratic socialists.
They're like AOC
Wait,
types.
Whip, are you a
Actual
capitalist?
Democratic socialist, not someone who's LARPing as a democratic socialist or is LARPing for a Nordic model. These words have actual meanings.
Ah, so
And
now
we
we're
have
doing the
to- Yeah, it's
objective.
not all that
now
vague
we're
what
doing
a
the
socialist is.
now we're doing the
It's not all
objective
that
meaning
vague.
stuff.
It's not
so now
vague
he's
what a
like,
socialist
there's an
is. It's not
objective
all that
meaning to
vague.
these terms, and
Yes,
there's
it
like a
is.
Yes,
platonic
there's an objective
form.
meaning
Oh,
to
there.
what socialist
So what do you
means.
what do you mean by
Yes.
objective meaning here? What is objective
I
meaning?
mean, well, we can look at what the DSA itself defines.
God.
And Tom read those out. They
So-
want to. they want to
Everybody knows
oppose
what
private
socialism
talk.
is. It's not that
Private
fucking
talk.
hard.
So just to be clear,
I'm sorry. Do you think I'm lying to you? I'm literally a fucking Marxist, and I'm telling you that to your face. Like socialism
lie,
has always
bro.
had.
I
a
know
vague-
that Marxists
has always
are
been defined
consistently
vaguely.
pretending like it's
And you
vague.
define it vaguely.
Yes,
you just
they
don't
always
understand the
pretend.
words.
No, it's not vague. It's things
Yes,
that
it
you
is,
really disagree
dude.
with. If you want the majority.
So
of the
is
market
AOC a
to
Yeah,
socialist?
it's
So
not only
so here's the question.
Yeah.
Here's the question you guys are about to get cooked. So Tom,
Bullshit.
Tom
You
is
guys are just-
Tom is
this
AOC a
is so
socialist?
fucking good, no
Tom
one
is
knows.
AOC a
You don't
socialist?
even know
Is
what I
AOC
said.
a socialist?
What?
I-
We'll
I-
answer
I
it.
have no
Wait,
idea.
Tom,
You have no idea.
Tom,
But she says
answer
she
the
is.
question. Is AOC a
She
socialist?
says she- No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. So Wick, is AOC a socialist?
I have no idea.
Oh, you have no idea. So that's so interesting because
Look,
if these
I wanna be
people,
clear with you. I'm busy
You-
beefing with Mehdi Hassan on the timeline, who's very mad that I'm having Shannon Watts on my show, and that's honestly at this point like more productive for my time than dealing with you guys. So that's what I'm doing.
fuck you, dude. You're
Ain't no
so you're being
way.
insulting to Dylan right now because you're getting blown the fuck
No, I'm
out.
giving him
Because you're getting
content.
blown
I
the
hope
fuck
you're
out.
making a lot
Now
of-
you're
That
being
was
disrespectful to Dylan's time.
I'm
The
being
organization like
disrespectful
I
to
can
you
no
because
so
you
you're
were
saying I don't care.
yeah.
I don't care about
That's
this
true. I'm
conversation,
right now.
and it's because I'm tweeting. Go fuck yourself. I mean that is just so disgraceful. It is unbecoming of you. You would never accept this if it was on your panel, Wick. You would say it was disrespectful. You would kick them from your panel, and you would never apply. And yet you feel no compunction about disrespecting
don't
Dylan
know.
on
I
this
kick
panel.
them. Are they making
You
me money?
absolutely would. It's disgraceful that you come on and you're invited as a guest. And you're saying I don't give
I
a
don't feel
shit
this
what
good.
these people are saying. You're disrespecting Dylan
Well,
and all of
because
our
we've
time.
gone around and around for an hour and a half.
So why don't you say, hey,
and
it's time to
you
leave?
were unable
Why don't you
to
say,
engage
I don't
with
want to
any
be
of my
engaged
points.
anymore and just
You were
leave?
unable to engage with any of my questions.
You
I
would
gave
not.
you a lot of my
what
time.
question did we not engage with?
Okay, the very first one that I asked, which is what policy position
None.
or
None. It was answered.
political
None. It was
do I
answered.
need
None. It was
for the
answered. None.
DSA
It was
Yeah, you
answered.
said the same with
None.
the Democratic
to
Party.
accomplish?
Yeah,
And
you said the
fact
same
that
with the
you
Democratic
kept calling
Party.
it a shell game. You kept
It-
dodging.
We answered
and
it.
then
None.
I
Hey,
asked
hey,
Jordy,
dipshit. Hey,
what-
dipshit. I said none, right? You hear that
You're not
answer?
even listening. See, why would I respect someone who won't let me finish a fucking sentence?
Yeah. So we answered that question, didn't we? We said none.
Not to my not actually.
What do you mean not actually?
let's
That's not
ask
an
a new
answer?
question, honestly.
What is
Let's
wrong
ask
with
a new
you?
question, I think. Let's not spiral anymore. Let's make sure on earlier questions that we've kind of rung through the ringer on. There was a answer from Jordy earlier, which I thought was interesting, which is if there was a vote on supporting Ukraine, even after I think maybe some effort, that there would likely never be a point where they would say, due to the state of affairs as they stand, we should send over some air defense systems or something to help them.
With
not-
the current people that are the caucus members in the NBC, that is one thing. Moving people on like who would be elected into the NBC is a totally other thing.
So that's interesting to me because when I think about people like Megan Romer, or these people seem to be, while they're facing public kerfluffles and like bad interviews for in parts of like bad policy positions like this, they do seem to not be in danger of exactly losing their positions in the immediate future. And I do wonder, considering that the war is happening right now, it's not like I can wait 4 or 5 more years for DSA to figure out, what's going on in Ukraine. They've had half a decade. I think that's plus 12 years before that to figure it out. So I think that's plenty of enough time. would it be more effective for me to join the organization in a sympathetic caucus and try to push people over time, or to redouble my efforts outside of an organization with something like Track Ukraine or anything for any other person on issues like this, whether it be criminal justice or to pressure the organization outside of the
So
organization?
this would be a question of strategy when it comes
Yeah.
to like what if you're going to put pressure on like the IC, or you're going to put pressure on people that are these caucus members of the NBC or whatever. That's a question of strategy, and I think I think that
You have to figure that out.
with research you would be closer. Yeah, you would be closer to answering that. But
Yeah, like, you
either
should
way, I
obviously-
think it's worth
Okay.
it. I think it would be worth it to do it from within DSA or outside of DSA, putting pressure on that. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think you could be, Dylan, planting the seeds right now of like, hey, your guys' position of non-intervention and war is always bad is
No, actually, let me double down a little bit.
and
because-
you cannot like solve Ukraine by just sending more diplomats. You can plant those seeds by being in the org right now, theoretically, but you can also, that doesn't mean you have to stop doing Track Ukraine. It doesn't mean like it's not a zero. It is a zero-sum game, but there's not like a either or. It's not like a 100% here.
Also, Dylan's in a really powerful position as it is. So, like you're someone that's been on the front line. You're someone that's been on the front line. You're someone who has seen what this war is. You know, you're not talking from fucking theory books and shit like that. Like you would have a lot of like social capital, a lot of sway, and I think that kind of pressure I think is really, really important to have applying pressure within DSA. You know,
But Dylan, to be
like
clear,
I would advocate for you
you,
to do it because I
ask-
think that it would be especially powerful.
Can I
Oh,
ask you,
he deigns us with his
Yeah,
involvement.
huge credibility. Yeah.
Yeah,
Can I
Thanks,
ask you,
Mick, for
Dylan,
joining
real
us.
quick? Right, Dylan, do you
Yeah.
worry that associating with the DSA will make it harder for you to advocate in non-DSA circles for Ukraine? Do you worry that might
That's a threat.
It's not
tarnish
panel with you.
any
I
kind of
don't know,
reputation?
because like for me, there are like certain Ukrainian ultranationalists who already don't really like me because I'm a queer, or like other like things that I can't like are outside of my control, or the fact that when I interview Ukrainian nationalists, like, so when it's all over, you're gonna go back to bashing the homos, and like that's the video I published there. It creates some tension because I want to press that button because I think these are issues that should be addressed. So I'm not fearful of that, particularly because of how the PV operation went, where we were able to pressure PV into completely changing the way they brought, and pressure is the correct word, their candidates within a week. And that was by me not only making public statements and having streams and like coordinating with other people and having like, Track Ukraine have a website and be a serious political entity, but it was also by me going in the PV server and talking with membership about what would it mean to you if PV decided that they wouldn't take the anti-war position on the largest war on the planet? Could you be in an organization like that? Playing for me, that's serious
I would-
politics. That's
Yeah,
we're
I
not
agree.
fucking around.
I agree.
We're going to
I
talk
agree.
about the future of the organization. And so for me,
Based.
I don't know if that's the best way to go about it again and again and again with other organizations like DSA, from inside, from outside. But for me, I just need to get to the end. If we have to drag them kicking and screaming, if it means that people lose their committee positions, if it means that an organization sinks, I would like the largest war in the world to end, and that means bulldozing over some people in certain circumstances, or they come along.
Sure, my
PV
positive
they get
argument.
along.
Yeah.
I don't know if DSA, even if I brought the most passionate, well-meaning, good-intentioned arguments, would be willing to take the aesthetic blow, and I do think part of it is aesthetic blow of saying send a weapon anywhere, period, because they like the bullet point of saying end all wars, even though you could just say that and not actually take actions to end them. And that's currently DSA's position.
I think your intuition is correct here, and I would just kind of like piggyback off that. Like, there are many people within the DSA right now who would strenuously oppose you much more than an organization such as PV would, right? Progressive Victory. Like, they would push back, fight you tooth and nail. And you've
Where do you
already
talk to these people?
seen, I would bet you would have already seen some DSA members take goes at you for your position at Ukraine, right? Like, I think
Just like
there's
any
just
DSA
such
member.
a-
Where do you
can I-
talk
can
to
I-
these
Can
guys?
I please finish one point without you autistically interrupting me? Thank you. Okay.
Go ahead.
Regardless. So
I'm going to ask you the same thing again, though.
I'm going to ignore you again.
Prepare for it.
Okay. So again, I think that your time, effort, and resources, and your credibility and clout, which you have, I agree with you. I agree with Pisco. I agree with Soy Pill. I agree with everyone that you have gravity, a gravitas on this subject that many lack. And I think that your time, resources, and effort would be better spent trying to get people on the center left or even the center right in order to get closer to your position.
They already support
And help
Ukraine,
end the
Wick.
Ukraine war.
Wait,
Than
the center
working with
left
the
and center
DSA.
right, the center left and center right already support Ukraine. I mean, like, listen, I've been going hard a little bit on Wick, and I like Wick.
Look, Pisco, I'm annoyed at you, but I still love you. At the end
I
of the
love
day.
you. I love you
am
too.
annoyed.
And listen, I really do like Wick, but it frustrates me because it's clear that what Dylan is trying to do is convince people who think differently, right, and who don't already agree with him. Now, that might be from the inside. It might also not be. Dylan might say, you know what? Wick is right about this ideological baggage. Fuck, I don't want to be a member of the DSA because of that baggage. So that works on me. But I just think let Dylan cook. And if he thinks it's in the best interest of his policy issue to push them on this, then it makes sense. And that doesn't need to interfere with his other efforts. Track Ukraine, or if there's some other organization, that's fine.
Yeah, but
I think
Wick, also
whether
think
he
about
wants it to or
what
not,
are
it
these
will
bad
work.
positions that like
Isn't that the point of
associated
the
with the
panel,
DSA like have that baggage? It's one of them is their like lack of support of NATO. One of them is their lack of support of Ukraine. And if Dylan comes and says I'm part of the DSA, and people who have these connotations say, "Well, wait, but don't you have dog shit opinions on Ukraine?" Dylan's like, "No, actually, I have one of the best positions in Ukraine, and I'm trying to influence from within." That baggage doesn't work on him because he has that reputation, because he has these orgs, right? So if you want to if you're just a random person joining, maybe you don't want that, but you can also distinguish yourself from those things. Someone might come up to you right now, Wick, and say, "Wick, you're a Democrat? You support genocide? You want to kill Gazans?" And you would say,
That's
no,
ridiculous. Yeah.
I don't support that. In fact, I think we should do everything in our power to moderate Israel or something, right? But you would never say, the baggage of the current Democratic's, party's policy position on Israel is so much that I should leave the Democratic Party, right?
Or not run as a
because
Democrat. You're the one who
Democratic
pointed
Party
to the
position
independents doing
isn't
better.
actually to genocide Gaza. And the difference here is the DSA's policy position is actually to close all U.S. foreign bases and to leave NATO. That's the difference. It's a fact-based difference. And people say that there's baggage in the Democratic Party with Israel, but I just reject them. I think they're wrong. I think they're incorrect.
But Dylan's not going to be
Whereas I look at
confused.
DSA's
Dylan's
actual
not.
policies and iterate these policies, and that has a different weight than what some dumb fuck online thinks the Democrats.
So Soy Pill's point is though that like Dylan's not going to be confused with one of these pro-Russian imperialist dogs, one of these like tanky types, because he has the track record to show it, and so the baggage is less effective on someone like Dylan Burns. Yeah,
but the baggage of the Ukraine war isn't the only baggage that comes with the DSA. And while he might be easily able to say and demonstrate that on this topic, I have demonstrated I am sufficiently outside of the DSA's mainstream that I will be taken seriously, he's going to have to demonstrate that he also doesn't believe in I get that.
Like
Involuntary
the
incarceration.
I get
going
that.
To have to demonstrate he doesn't want to destroy the
yes,
US
all the bad stuff.
and
Yes,
remake it.
Yeah, Fox News is going to have some tough questions for him.
Do all of that.
But wait.
And it's just work he does not have to do.
But just let him. But like the thing is, maybe that is a thing that he can't go and support the organization for those reasons. Maybe that will be outcome determinative for him. But I would just say, if he were to join the DSA for those reasons, let him cook. Let him give him the grace, and don't like ostracize him necessarily because of his decision to do that.
Do you think I'm going to ostracize him if he joins the DSA?
Listen, maybe you didn't mean it,
Probably.
but you said something like, won't this affect like your relationship with other like liberal or candidates or something? And that kind of felt like there's an implicit like little
type language with
personally. I've met him personally. We've had beef in the past, right? We've had beef, but we quashed that beef, and I in person apologized for the beef that I had with him, right? We made amends. Now, will I be disappointed in his choice if he chooses to join the DSA? Yes. Will I think he's making the wrong choice? Yes. Will I disassociate with him? No.
Cool.
However, I think that for the reasons that I am not the only liberal that exists, despite the name of my awesome title, The Last Liberal, right? That's clickbait. There are other liberals who would not give him that grace that I do.
But
And I
should
want
they give
Dylan
him
to
that
be the
grace?
most
But
effective
Shouldn't they give
advocate
him the
for
grace?
Ukraine
Would those
he
liberals
possibly
change
can.
their
And
position
that
on Ukraine
should
because
be
of
done
that?
within the confines of the Democratic Party.
Those,
And I think he should stay far, far away from the DSA for all the reasons I've
but
laid
Wick,
out tonight.
those
It-
I think
liberals
it
aren't
did-
going to
it's
change
a-
their
I
position
wanna
on
give-
Ukraine
baggage
I wanna
because
does
of
give
that,
not
Greg
right?
credit here. I want to give Greg some credit here, even though I'm not supposed to be biased as a moderator. But this isn't hippy dippy. There are no rules. If I'm in Ukraine, that country does not view socialism with a particularly positive
Sure.
reputation. And saying that I am a foreign socialist from where, if they look up the organization and they look up Ukraine, these are the things that are going to come up. I do, to some degree, wonder if that could, apply to go film and embed with the unit on the front line. They're like, why would we want to bring somebody who's working to end support for Ukraine? Why would we want to do it? And they could misconstrue what my position is. I'm in Maryland also. This is not, I would say, DSA strong country. This is Libtown from the start to the end of the day. So I also worry about like what people will assume that, oh, Dylan, you have positions like Dara Lisa when it comes to Ukraine, or you have positions like X, Y, and Z. So I do think that there is some reputational stink when it comes to the specific areas I would be working in. I mean, I hear a lot from even like Ukrainian leftists complaints that like American leftists are just too disconnected from what war is, to the point where, they only understand war as something you do to other people. They don't understand it as something done to them. But also, that's something I'd like to communicate to them.
Yeah, so you
But
have to
there's also-
balance
I don't know
that.
that this is ever like a
this
common
is-
thing
like,
that
this would
happens
also be, like, one
anywhere
of the points
at
that-
all, though, right? Like if somebody tried to join like what is it called, like Patriot Front, to try to make them more pro like LGBTQ or something.
Yeah,
like,
then the reputational risk would be
when
dispositive there,
organizations are
right? The
trying to-
reputational risk would be dispositive there, and that's something that Dylan is going to have to contend with. And I just think that we should give him the space and the grace to do.
Like it's a meaningful sort of question about whether or not there's like a separate organization that can have influence and apply pressure from external to DSA,
Right.
et cetera, right? Like I think that it would be ideal to have somebody who had the experiences that Dylan has had, and like be able to talk on these things that's within DSA, that is able to apply pressure from within DSA, because I think that would be really powerful from that perspective. But then also, if you're on the front lines and you're a gay socialist Twitch streamer,
and it's undermining his
that might
work,
not
then
be-
maybe, yeah. But the thing
right,
is,
right. Then that's like a meaningful question for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we agree on that.
And also, I would want to know, like, Dylan, ultimately, it does come down to, if you were to do this, if you were to join the DSA, something that I don't do because I don't have enough alignment with them. If you don't have enough alignment either, it might be the case that they view this as a cynical power play to, change them from within, and you don't really align with them. Like, it really depends on your politics, and this whole argument is about, like, do you align enough with them that it makes sense, and how much work can you do internally? Like, are you even still a member of PV when you did all this PV stuff, or are you just someone who associates with them and works with them, right? Like, no matter what, ultimately your goal is to change them on the Ukraine thing with this stuff. That might involve becoming a member, and that's a calculation you have to make.
Well, the other thing
Hold
for
on.
members,
I
like
would-
all
hold
these
on.
members are so like
Was that
ideologically
a
opposed to each
question,
other
or
already.
was that a hypothetical
Hold on,
question?
I just want to clarify. Dylan, is your goal to convince DSA to be more pro-Ukraine, or is your goal to end the Ukraine war?
both, right?
The second is my priority, and I
Yes.
think
Okay.
the first one might help.
Obviously,
maybe.
It
that would
might,
be a
exactly.
part of
That's
the
what
process,
that's why I'm bringing that up. Like, it would be a mistake to say your goal is to convince the DSA to support Ukraine more, right? That's not his actual goal. His actual goal is to end the Ukraine war. And I think that
Sure, but
going
think
down
about
that
this.
route would be a mistake, because it would waste resources and time. Time is a resource.
Wick,
the war is
DSA is
going to
already
take
pushing
some of
Democrats
the
on policy.
Wait,
Like,
wait,
DSA is
fight
already
with the
having an effect
DSA
on what
to change
positions
their
people are
things,
taking.
when he could be going out now with the liberal, democratic,
Who already
you know,
think
Who already
that.
agree.
organizations
Wait,
Yeah,
they
who already
agree.
agree.
this without
Wick,
all
think
the
about
baggage
it.
that he'd
And
have
this
to
is a bad thing.
go
Think about the fact that Ilhan Omar was someone who voted to not put the sanctions on Russia, right? Like, he might have the ability with DSA clout to say to these candidates who listen to DSA members, hey, these 1 or 2 House votes that are the difference between aid to Ukraine, hey, you should be in pro-Ukraine because just being anti-war is not enough. You need to be able to send weapons because diplomats are not, you can't send 20 diplomats over. This is not going to end the war. It literally might be his time that makes the difference for 1 or 2 of these votes, for 1 or 2 of these House candidates, and they might only listen if he's a DSA member, right?
That is what Wick is saying. What that is what Wick is saying, though, is he's talking about like time and resources, and then even on top of that, like the overall goal of the movement. So like even earlier when you mentioned, you know, the Democrat Party still voting in favor of funding for Israel, where somebody may disagree with funding for Israel. If the overall platform of the Democratic Party is to make sure that there's an existence of Israel, and that's like the main goal of the party, yeah, it would make sense that people wouldn't want to associate with them. But if instead the goal is like a bunch of other liberal values, and then they just disagree with like 1 or 2 votes that the Democrat Party votes in favor of, in which everybody's going to be in disagreement with some things that the majority of the party votes in favor of, then like it doesn't make sense that you would disassociate based on that when you agree with the overall goal. But then joining another group where you do disagree with the overall goal of the group, but then you want to change one other thing within that group, that's where I think it doesn't make sense to invest resources and time.
I have to use.
Do you think that the DSA is having do you think that the popularity of DSA is having an impact on positions that Democrats are taking in local elections or campaigns? Do you think that like the rhetoric and the things that they say and the things that they're trying to get elected on are shifting because of the influence of DSA?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay, then there you go.
This isn't one of those things, though, because every time somebody asks them about like Russia, Ukraine, or something like that,
well, that's the point.
I'm running on free healthcare, and
but that's the point, though, right? Like pushing DSA on the issue of Ukraine makes it more unanimous, and also pushes the Overton window further towards Ukraine, and actually has a meaningful impact politically. Like it does. It's not like tangential to it. Like I don't know.
So if that's his goal, why should he put? What should he put? Why should he put resources? This is what I don't understand, right?
So does MAGA.
If the goal is to convince people on Ukraine, presumably he's convincing people who disagree. And so I don't understand the refrain, which is like, oh, okay, you should invest the time in these liberal organizations, which, you know, they're doing great work. And I think he should, you know, invest his time with all these different organizations or Young Democrats or whatever that is for other purposes. But specifically for the goal with moving people, I think that presupposes some like friction or some lack of agreement with his position already. And so I just don't understand, with respect to that goal, why it would be more efficient to try to convince people who already agree with him. That's what I don't understand.
Well, I just feel like it would apply to literally any other group, like joining TPUSA and trying to push them to be more pro-funding for Ukraine, where they're against funding. Like it just doesn't. I feel like in any other
that would be
scenario,
some other reason not to join them, right? Like,
yeah,
So if Dylan takes the view that there's too much policy incoherence, that there's too much negative effect in general with this organization, that it would just be like in conflict with some other goals, yeah, don't join TPUSA or a MAGA group to change their mind on this one thing if for other reasons it causes some like issue or some like lack of coherence. But Dylan seems to be open that like there isn't this like massive chasm between DSA values and his values, or at least not sufficient or the same as, you know, hypothetical TPUSA Dylan Burns. But, you know, that'd be funny if you did join.
Well,
if you want clarification,
I mean, like national DSA.
The DSA chapter would be Metro DSA. You know, my mother was a homeless resident in DC. I care a lot about fighting poverty. I care a lot about like things like housing and affordability issues and the issues that, you know, people are facing with that. You know, DSA candidates speak to more forcefully and more aggressively, even if they're also speaking to from liberal candidates. That would be, at least in a way that does attract me more. But it's just like the foreign policy positions are just so. Here's just one example. 2 weeks ago, they released a statement on the blockade of Cuba, and DSA referred to the blockade as genocidal. And what confused me about that is I don't know how somebody could view a blockade as genocidal, but not view the mass hunting of civilians, mass displacement of civilians, propagandists talking about using starvation as a weapon of war, the deliberate trying to erase of the Ukrainian identity. None of that is genocidal. Nothing is ever used in that language. And so if I was to join, and this is something that's interesting, if I was to join and completely fail, would there be a usefulness to just create a vote in DSA, or have there be a vote in DSA on support for Ukraine to create conversation? Then the media would maybe be, hey, there was a vote in DSA about supporting Ukraine. It failed. And then Wall Street Journal has to write about it. CNN has to write about it. Axios has to write about it. Every single major outlet has to write about it. And then Megan Romer isn't going to be asked an Atlantic piece about it. She's going to be asked by every journalist that she interacts with.
Do you agree with the
About
DSA's position
One
on Ukraine?
example
And that's
is
pressure.
Darliza didn't get asked about Ukraine really much at all until there was more attention brought. I won't say
but
what
what
word did it,
happens
but
then?
by some attention brought on the issue, then all of a sudden she's getting the most Ukraine questions she's ever gotten in her entire life because there's more attention on it.
Hold
If
on.
something like that happened in DSA, I feel like that would be a grenade times 10. Like, in comparison, the force definitely planned out over a
That would
year.
be-
Oh, the
It could be much
pressure,
more
right?
be a
Like I'm saying,
bad
like
thing.
you in that room posing that question. Like I'm trying to think of you
That's a
in
bad-
that room
you
posing that
understand
question to
all
them.
those
Shut up.
questions,
You in
all
that room
all those
posing that
fucking
question to them.
articles, all
Wick,
those
shut the
fucking
fuck up.
things, it's
Wick,
not gonna
shut
be
the fuck
good.
up. Wick, shut the fuck up. You in that room posing that question to them is such a poignant, strong question that whether or not it has a negative effect on them, that is pressure, and that is going to have a big impact. And I think that that kind of thing is worth it, even if it stirs up shit.
When your
Or
pressure
fails.
fails, you usually has bad consequences for what you're trying to advocate for. And let me ask you this, Dylan, right? If you go in, you're advocating for Ukraine, and then Hassan comes out and says, nah, fuck this guy. Who do you think the DSA is going to side with, you or Hassan?
Hassan.
Yes, exactly. So I think that given that Hassan has huge amounts of clout, power, and influence within the DSA, this just answers your question for you. As long as Hassan and the DSA are working together, you cannot effectively advocate for Ukraine within the DSA.
But are you ceding
you
ground to
just
Hassan
put
if you
the
don't even
And
try
Hassan
to?
Hassan is
that,
an
like,
example of someone who had a
exists.
fuck ton of pressure and actually put out a fucking apology because of the pressure that he got.
Well, you would be able to affect more change
pressure
within
is
that
good.
charter, because obviously the charter is obviously going to be where he's actually have influence, not within the national DSA. Like that, the all of the charters would have that influence. And so
And
Guys,
tons of
always
people in
use the
DSA do not
national
like Hassan, by
DSA.
the way, but
We're looping. We're
And, like, Wick, you
looping.
would never make this argument about any other org. Like, oh, well, someone else will have more power than you, so you shouldn't even try. Like, what? I don't understand that.
Yeah, why would you cede that
Because
to
we have
Hassan
limited
then?
Time, resources. That's it. We
No,
have
but,
a
like,
limited
By the way,
amount
I
of
will
time
also
and
throw out
resources.
there, Hassan has made efforts to avoid mentioning track Ukraine, like on his stream, and so I've made my efforts to avoid much of mentioning him on mine. It was so it's like it's perfect. It's and like
I
he'll-
didn't
oh,
know
we're
we
gonna
were.
make
I
it
didn't
track
know this
Taiwan
was
next.
a
Like, so
Hassan
I've
free
seen him
zone. I'm sorry.
say things to avoid, like mentioning track Ukraine while not mentioning it. So to me, if he stays over there and I stay over there and I keep focusing on this, great. Hassan can't have a conversation on Ukraine. When he talks about it, he seems nervous. And I'm not saying that to be like mean, just to say that like he I can tell he's outside of his
Sure.
wheelhouse. And the majority of the conversations he's had with Ukraine has been with non-Ukrainians who might have taught Ukraine like a year before the war, like people who are completely disconnected with current reality. So while there is a risk of Hassan coming out and saying screw Dylan because he supports Ukraine, that's not something that's new to me, by the way, having Hassan say that about me. But also, on the other hand, if he wants to make the conversation about Ukraine, he tends not to do good in those conversations. I've never seen him have that conversation and pick people up. People, I didn't like Hassan before, but now that he's against, he's expressing the need to stop Dylan from changing their position on Ukraine or pushing more support for Ukraine. Now I'm with, so I just don't think it would really be a focus for him.
And the reality is,
I became
Hold
a
on.
tier 3 sub when he
agree.
called you a war tourist, Dylan. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. It wouldn't be a focus for him, but it doesn't need to be for him to just shut it down.
okay, but
He
wait,
would
wait,
not
wait, wait, wait,
directly
wait,
engage
wait,
with it.
wait, wait,
He
wait.
wouldn't need to.
So the issue is though, you agree the DSA is like not going away anytime soon. So it kind of feels
Oh
like
no! Hold on. I don't know if that's true. I think that if we can substantively demonstrate to enough people over a long enough time that two conditions: one, the Democratic Party is effective at winning elections and passing policy, which we're doing in the midterms. We are on track to do that. This is something that we are going to do. And two, that the DSA is substantively less effective at beating MAGA, which is going to happen when we have these races.
You think that's already been
and we
shown?
have
Wait,
DSA or
Wick,
DSA
Wick,
backed
your whole
candidates
starting
up
thing here
against other
was that
things.
was
They're
already
going to
shown.
perform
Wick,
poorly, right?
your entire
And-
gambit initially was that was already self-evident, that they were already shown to be electorally inferior, and yet they exist. Aren't you in a massive contradiction?
We have to remind people of that fact.
Oh,
Because they have in the recent. Yes, you have to, again,
We forgot for
repetition
some reason.
matters. You remind people, that's how people learn, by repeated exposure, repeated lessons given again and again and again.
It's a
until
just
they
so
get it through
story,
their
Wick.
thick skull.
Anything
Right, like
I
losing
say-
to an insurrectionist pedophile twice.
Bro, you've never
Right.
won once. We are, look, the Democrats have flipped 30 seats, taken from MAGA 30 seats, and you laugh because the DSA
I
have
laugh
taken
because people
none,
don't trust the
motherfucker.
Democrats right
You
now.
are
Like
MAGA's
people's trust
lapdog.
for the
You're the
Democrats are going
strongest
down. It's
soldier.
probably
You've
pretty
never
clear
won
why.
against Trump once. Not
you
once.
advocated,
clear why,
motherfucker,
because
not
you don't
you
trust
once.
advocated
You
for
said
MAGA to
you have
win
to
in
teach
the
Not
people.
election.
fucking
dude.
once.
You can't
And I
forget
need
for
you
some
to
reason,
sit
right?
with that. I need to
You
sit
said you
with
have to
how
teach people. People
ineffective,
forgot for some
how
reason. Why did they
impotent,
forget?
how feckless you have been. You have not ever
People
been
feel the way
able
about the
to
Democratic
flip
Party.
a
Are you going to
national
contend
seat
with that?
from red to blue.
Are you
And
going to
motherfucker,
contend
without
with
even
how people feel
trying,
about the
the
Democratic
moderate
Party?
Democrats
No, you're not
have
going
flipped
to.
30.
That's the cope that you exist in.
It's
You're not
not
going
a
to contend
cope.
with that at
It's
all.
30
No,
fucking
you're just
seats
going
that
to
we
say
didn't have.
everybody else
You
is
may
wrong,
call
everyone else is wrong, but they'll
electoralism a
see one
cope,
day.
but
They'll
I
see one
call
day.
it
Yeah, you'll just do that over and
affordability.
over.
I call it money in your pocket. I call it healthcare. I call it access.
Someone
Why
elect
are you
this
on the
guy.
stump, Wick? Why are you on the
What
stump?
you do
This is
is
not
you
a
sit
stump
there
speech.
and you in your smug little castle and you sniff your own farts and you do nothing. You do nothing.
Okay,
You accomplish
I think that-
nothing. You get nothing
I think-
done. Nothing is accomplished. Not one thing, not one seat, not one victory. Whereas I'm doing the work, getting out there, supporting local candidates, raising money for local candidates. We didn't even try. 2 weeks ago, we ran $7,000 without even trying. $7,000 for people in Ohio and Texas. That's what we did. What have you done,
Don't
motherfucker?
elect this guy, dude.
What have you done, motherfucker?
I
What
think
have you done, motherfucker?
Obviously, hold on. There obviously are like the more DSA candidates are getting elected right now. They're getting more influence within the party.
Yeah, they're beating.
I do think like
Democrats. They're not
there's.
beating
It
MAGA.
seems like the majority of the people who are, talking about this recently seem to believe that the DSA is not going to like continue this trend. I'm not one of those people. I do think that it's likely. The one path that I see it being less likely is John Ossoff wins the presidency. He seems to be somebody who's open to denouncing people like Hassan Piker and the farther left groups and making a clear distinction between those two. But there's also, the more in-between Democrats who are not going to make clear distinctions. And if that's the case, yeah, I see the DSA continuing to rise for sure.
Well, guys, I think we've
Okay,
come
I
to some
think-
resolution.
I was going to say we've come to some resolution, and there is somebody else asking to come on the program. Somebody who is not allowed on Twitch, and so I was going to open up an avenue, but I was going to end a Twitch stream and give people a chance to jump first, of course, so that people who don't want to be here don't have to be here, and people who want to stay can stay.
Hell yeah.
Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. I'm genuinely going to be taking a lot of your words into consideration as I make a decision. For me, it's purely a strategic decision. Of course, I have values that align with DSA when it comes to wanting a war on poverty, but then there are other values that I don't. Obviously, with Ukraine being the most blaring, I have a lot of reverence for the Constitution, things like that. But at the end of the day, I got a lot of value out of this, so I do appreciate it. And honestly, the insult counter was legendary today. I mean,
I love you,
I
Wick.
love
Hey,
count.
listen,
Actually love count.
these fights, I really do appreciate Wick's passion, and in all honesty, it's good to have some passion, and I appreciate the conversation. Have a good one, guys.
Yeah, I love
Let's
you guys.
let's go back around the room, and then people can jump who want to jump before we bring in somebody else, and people
Yeah, closing
can
statement?
give their ending
You want
statements
closing statements?
before we bring in Mr. Band. So let's start with Jordy. We'll start at the top. Back to our original question, and if there's anything else you want to say as well with outros and such.
Well, as far as the original question goes, the reason why I joined DSA in the first place was to try and push out the more toxic elements and then advocate for elements that I think are more productive and something that I think should be invested in, which is in particular a grassroots structure of getting involved in politics. I think is really, really important. And I think it's one of the things where Democrats are lacking quite a bit. And I think it's beneficial to have a avenue for people that are alienated from the Democratic Party that are able to help get people elected. Otherwise, or get involved in the democratic process in general. Having an avenue for that is really, really important, especially right now. My name is Jordy Liebeck on all platforms, or liebeck.io for the website.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming. I really do appreciate it and being one of the reasons that inspired the conversation in the first place. Going to throw it over to Pisco.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I wouldn't join the DSA. Listen, I don't align with them and on major issues, and so for me, I don't want to deal with that fucking shit. But that might be a different response for people who have a particular desire to, like, you know, organize in the way the DSA does, or if they want to affect change within the DSA. And I certainly wouldn't like ostracize someone who joined the DSA. I think the DSA have people and candidates that they support who I think do great things, and sometimes I will prefer their candidates. And so I think this is a more like individualized calculation. And so even though I wouldn't join the DSA, and I don't consider myself a socialist or a member of the DSA, if Dylan calculated that it was in his interest or the interest of the organization to convince people to be more based on Ukraine, more based on NATO, I think that that's fine. And I would give him that space to make that decision. I agree with Jordy and with Wick and with Soypill that Dylan Burns will have a lot of cachet. He has a track record, and he will be, I think, influential. And just being disruptive in that sense may have a beneficial effect. That said, right, maybe it will have some sort of negative effect in Ukraine for his correspondence and for his kind of advocacy. And so that's something that he has to come to a decision on. Ultimately, though, what I don't like are the kind of memes that are like, okay, well, because they believe in socialism, they're necessarily not a part of the coalition, or they necessarily are going to institute this, like, you know, free rapist meme kind of deal. I just don't think that that should be a reason to, like, undermine either supporting these people in general elections where it's preferable, or even in primaries where it's preferable. As for the membership of the organization itself, yeah, I'm not so big on that. I wouldn't do it, but yeah, I think that's up to each person. And I certainly am not going to say that just because you join DSA, like, you're not a real Democrat. You can be a member of the Democratic Party and a member of the DSA. And so, you know, it takes all to make a world go around. Thank you, Pisco Liddy.
Thank you so much for coming on, Pisco. Appreciate it as always. I'm happy you're still in this space. Happy you're still out there doing this. Likewise. And doing better than you were like a few years ago. I've seen you're on the right trajectory growth wise. So it's awesome to see that. Soy Pill.
Yeah, like I said, like, if you're just a random person, you're not Dylan, and you're interested in joining the DSA, if you're like me, you don't want to join because you don't have enough overlap. But if you do have enough overlap and they're an avenue for which you can canvass and do good work and organize for a candidate you care about who's more gold than the, you know, average Democrat, then do it. I think Dylan has the opportunity to affect change from within, but I'm also very open to the idea that, hey, you know, maybe these people just reject him outright. Maybe his time is wasted. That's entirely possible depending on how radical they are. And I think it's worth giving it a shot. But if it doesn't pan out, I wouldn't also be that surprised. You've got a lot of different factions in the DSA, and some of them are reasonable and some of them aren't. Ultimately, I think when we criticize the DSA, we should understand what our actual problems with them are, and not that they want to let rapists rape. Thank you on the Soyville.
Thank you, Soy. I appreciate it as always. Nice hat, and I appreciate that it was spinning continuously for the whole debate.
Yeah, and I appreciate you reminding everyone that you did it first.
I did do it first. I did it first under fire.
Yeah,
as one should.
This is stolen valor, basically.
Yeah, that's my uniform, and I don't want you to steal it. I'll throw it over to Tom.
Yeah,
you're here, so why not?
yeah. Yeah, I wasn't part of the panel, but I appreciate you when we jump on and ask my questions. I don't feel like the questions were answered because Pisco wanted to answer them for everybody else. But I'm glad to hear y'all's closing statements that you do agree with me. I tried from the beginning to make the caveats to make clear that I am not Wick. I disagreed with Wick and what he was saying and separated myself from Wick, but people continued arguing with me as though I was Wick instead of me. But I do kind of agree with everything else that was said from Pisco and Soy Pill right now. Those were the points that I was making as well. So glad we all agree.
All hosts look the same to me. Sorry.
Where can people find you?
A Tomfoolery Show, YouTube.com.
He has a great
Tomfoolery
stream.
Show.
You should really follow Tom. I am very entertained often when he reviews stuff. So kudos to Tom. He does a good job.
Absolutely. And if it wasn't for Tom's panel, this panel wouldn't exist in the first
True.
place. People got to remember. Throwing it over to Wick.
Sure. So I'll just be brief as I can. I do think, yes, obviously, it is someone's individual choice what organizations they choose to align themselves with, or not align with themselves with. But it's also my choice to advocate for what I think is the best course of action, the best use of time, what would have the best effect in Dylan's stated goals, which is to end the war in Ukraine. I'm assuming in a positive position is possible for Ukraine, right? That again, that path gets harder through the DSA. It is easier without the DSA, and that's my whole point. Rather than going on all the reasons the DSA is bad, I'll just remind you we have actual midterms coming up. Chris Thomas, who is running for state senator in Pennsylvania, the 24th district. Look, in 2022, the Republican won by 4 points, but we are in such a good year this year. Right? The wind is at our backs. Chris Thomas has a real chance. He's focused on healthcare. He's focused on affordability. He's focused on education. And if you want to give to him, I can try to put a link to my description of a place you can go and give some money and support these local candidates. Pennsylvania has a chance of becoming a Democratic trifecta. And if it becomes a Democratic trifecta, we are able to pass legislation that we otherwise could not. And that's going to be great for Pennsylvanians as a whole. And so I encourage you, there's dozens of these races all throughout the country of state legislative, state electorates, right? Where you can do a lot of good under the Democratic Party, right? Find out. If you don't know the names of the organizations or name of the candidates, doesn't mean they don't
ask
exist.
Wick.
They're out there. So go do it. I love you guys. Thank you for hosting.
Thank you all for coming on. And if
cool.
anybody wants to directly donate to Ukraine without the whims of anybody's debate and culture war, you can donate to Prolitska, which is one of the best Ukraine evacuation groups. I've seen their guys go into literal hell to get people out from the front, and they're like taping their trucks together in order to keep them going. So if you guys at home listen, you could donate $5, $10, $15. These guys work on pennies on the dime. So I mean, it'd be good if you guys donated at home. Okay,
and if
and if that,
can you link that in the chat? I'll
sure,
post it.
I can give you their name. You can like look them up. It's really there's
We do stuff.
Cool. Bro.
All right, guys. See you later.
Also,
Peace out.
All right, bye, everybody.
while I still have
Thanks
all
for
your
having me.
chats,
Appreciate you guys.
yep, they're jumping. While I have all your chats here, I'm releasing an article on Lebanon soon.
Read it. All right, folks. Jesus Christ. I mean, the virtue signaling. I do like Wick, counter to everything that everyone said. I actually do like Wick, believe it or not. But I just like the virtue signal. It was nonstop, and he wanted to turn it into this whole thing about like, what do I need with the DSA? It's like, you don't really need them for that if you mean strictly need. And he just kept coming back to it. I'm like, dude, what's going on? I have to go though. It's like the middle of the day now, and I have some plans with my friends. So yeah, it's almost 12 o'clock. Almost time for some Gohan Kudasai. That said, stay cool, guys. Love you all. Don't be too mean in the chats on both sides.